Call the meeting to order, ladies and gentlemen. I need a resolution that council now reconvene. Councilor Quince moves, seconded by Councilor Elliott. All in favor? Thank you very much. Carried. We're now in session, and Caleb, you're on first. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So after our last meeting, we just staff took away some of the comments and information from the first 2 days, and just put a brief presentation here to help us go through the resolutions for today's meeting. There were 3 pieces of good news, I guess, since the first draft of the budget was released. One, Sterling Arena budget came back for the arena that they charge us for, reduced that by 20,000. The Quinte Recycling, as we know, came back with a revised budget since we produced the budget book, and that's reduced the budget by about 200,000. And then finally, we did receive official confirmation from the PILT, from the province, that we will be receiving $3 million this week to make up for the lost PILT payment. So those 3 are the differences, different items that we have added in for today, so that we can make resolutions that correspond with those changes.
You might, before you leave the PILT money, do you want to just describe how long it's been since it was reduced and what this payment actually represents?
Right. So approximately 3 years ago is when the province made changes to the business education tax rate, and that there was an issue between them and the federal government on our PILT payment, which comes from CFP Trenton. And so that payment that we're used to receiving, around $9 million to the city's budget, was reduced by $1 million. And so now this has been 3 years, including 2023, 3 years that we've lost that $1 million. And so the province came up with that $3 million transferred back to us to make up for that. We don't know for 24 or 25 if we'll receive payment for that lost revenue yet. We haven't budgeted for it. So that's kind of the history there.
Thank you.
All right, so for today, the agenda, we've put the water and wastewater resolution at the beginning, hoping we can kind of knock that one out based on the feedback we received during that budget. Then we'll go through the city budget, and we've added a resolution. So the $3 million PILT allocation will be the first resolution we suggest we deal with, and that will affect some of the resolutions later on when it comes to the municipal levy, if there are allocations that offset the levy. Then we'll go through external community groups and agencies, and then finalize the municipal department and overall levy. And the last thing we'll do, so we can still approve, let's say, the capital levy, and then we'll go through the capital projects and decide on those and see how much we can accomplish today. When it comes to water and sewer, I'll just go quickly through these slides, these resolutions. This resolution is what you saw in the budget book. Sorry, the first package of the agenda. So we'll address this one. If you can go to the next slide. What we have done is revise some of the other resolutions. So on the left-hand side, you'll see what was originally proposed at 9.26% and how that was split between the municipal departments at 4.03, the capital levy at 2, and the external agencies at 3.23. With some of our revised numbers to get the levy to 6.86%, we brought municipal departments to 3.31, capital levy remains at 2, and external agencies to 1.55. And if we go to the next slide, these are some of the items that allowed us to get to the 6.86. So we start with Quinte Waste Solutions, where we updated the budget down. This was their revised budget number, so that brought almost 0.25% down on the levy. The second item is we've decided to throw in the reserves as an option. So we can use reserves to offset the remaining increase of 156,000. And the reason we did this is because producer responsibility is coming into play in 25 and 26. And so we're hoping that the savings there will pay back this reserve draw in the last 2 years of this council's term. The Sterling Arena, as I mentioned, their budget was revised down 20,000. The air show, this was a suggestion to possibly use the PILT money for the one-time expense in our operating budget of 150,000. And so that would also bring the levy down. Lower Trent Conservation, again, this is council's decision, but if it were to remove category 3 items, we could save 50,000. The library, this was basically a potential to bring this down to limit the increase from the proposed 20 to 5% increase, and that would save $250,000. Quinte Transit, the potential to bring that levy down and limit it at a 7.5% cap, that would bring down the budget by $175,000. Reducing sand and salt, we propose, or we have in here basically $200,000, 10% reduction in our sand salt budget. The ability to change this one also relies on the fact that we have a stabilization reserve for winter control. So if things are bad and we have a bad winter, we can dip into a stabilization reserve, which we don't always have for other things. And bag tags was a big item. So adding 50 cents to the price of bag tags for 2024 would add $300,000 in revenue. And that would more offset with the increased costs that we're seeing. Our collection and disposal costs are going up. I think our collection costs went up about 5% with inflation this last year. And so that increase in bag tags would help offset the cost of waste. And finally, County of Hastings, by again limiting the increase we received from Hastings County to 7.5%, that would reduce a substantial amount from our budget, $460,000. And again, they will be dealing with their budget later on in the spring. And we do have a stabilization reserve for Hastings County of over $300,000. So if it comes over, we can also dip into that reserve. So these are the items that could potentially be approved to reduce the levy. And we'll go to the next page. So we'll come back to these resolutions again, but just for kind of council's awareness, this is one way to split the PILT funding that we heard council talk about different objectives, and so we can put that $3 million to various items, to reserves, housing reserves, industrial reserves, Kingston Hospital, doctor recruitment, capital reserves. So this is one way, and we'll let council kind of have their comments on the best way to split the PILT. We'll go to the next page. External grants, I just want to confirm that the budget still does not have any funding for these items in the budget, so anything added from all those external community groups we heard would be an addition to the budget, and we would add that in. We have the potential tax levy impact on the right-hand side, and we will have a live spreadsheet going if anything's added back into the budget for any of these items. Next page. External agencies, as I mentioned earlier, we've kind of capped some of the external agencies and found significant reductions in the budget. Again, there are repercussions here to limiting some of these, and we'll let council discuss whether these limitations are reasonable. And yeah, we'll go to the next slide. The municipal departments, the three items that have brought this levy down are the increase of the bag tags by 50 cents, if council chooses to do so, funding the air show from the PILT, and reducing the winter sand budget by 10%. Those are the only three changes to the municipal tax levy. The next page. And the capital levy, as I mentioned earlier, we left that at the 2%, so an additional $1.4 million to our capital program. And the resolution at the end will include all four components: the capital levy, municipal levy, external partnerships, and community grants. And we'll go to the next page. Finally, we'll try to address capital, and there's obviously a long list of capital projects we can go through and alter the final capital budget that's approved. And again, just a reminder, we are looking for fleet to be approved for 25 and 26 as well. Next page. And that's it, isn't it? Perfect. All right, so with that, I'll pass it maybe back to the mayor to start us with the PILT and go through the resolutions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Could I request, it's my understanding some councillors, the external community grants that have not been included at all, they want to make some changes to that. Could we decide that before the PILT allocation? Because that's going to affect
Well, yeah, I
the
didn't
PILT
know,
allocation.
what are the ones that aren't included?
All the external community grants aren't included.
Okay, okay,
So that's why I'd like that discussed first,
Well, we
because
can
that
do-
will affect the other.
yeah, okay.
Please.
We can do that.
Up to you, Mayor. Yeah.
Anything else that you want to add? No? Okay, all right,
I got a question later, but
okay, okay. Anything else before we get started, I guess? Thank you very much for being here this morning, and our objective is to be thorough, but be efficient and effective and come to a conclusion. That's the objective. So we can start with outside agencies, that's for sure. Okay.
Point of order, didn't the treasurer want the water budget approved first?
I'm sorry, did he want to what?
The water and sewer budget.
Okay, yeah, we can,
That was the order. If you'd like to do the water and sewer first, that's
okay.
what we
All right,
suggested.
so we need a motion to approve the water and sewer budget as presented. Is that what you're asking?
That is correct. The operating and capital budget, as well as pre-approval for the 25 and 26 fleet. And so that resolution, our staff will get on the screen here for you, just so everyone's clear on what that resolution is.
Councillor Quinte, do you have a
Yeah.
question? or
No, I was going to move it.
You want to move it? Seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Okay. Comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. That was good. Okay. Now you want to start with the outside agencies. Okay?
Well, I'd like the external agencies done before the PILT allocation.
Well, let's do
I
it.
believe the first would be the recommendations to reduce the budget by 2.4%. Also, thank you for the report. It was very easy to follow and understand. Appreciate it.
Okay. So outside agencies, any comments or questions or concerns about what the finance director has presented with respect to outside agencies? Councillor Sharp.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, just being clear, are we dealing with the PILT allocation or, no, the external agencies, not external community grants?
Right.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to be clear for me. Thank you.
Councillor Stidham.
Just further clarification. So in the presentation done by the director, there's 350,000 fully funding the KGH is what I'm seeing.
Yes.
And and then there's an additional one that wasn't discussed before, the doctor recruitment. But the external agencies, like there are, we had 13 other agencies that we talked about last week. So this is the screen. No, is this? These are the ones we're talking about? There's another external community grants.
This is confusing.
Right. So those are the ones that we're talking about. And the original recommendation was that we don't fund any of them. And now the resolution, the PILT, was that we just fund the University Hospital Kingston. So I wonder if we can have a little bit more. Is that I believe what Councillor O'Neill is looking at is we're trying to figure out another allocation rather than putting it all to just one external agency.
Or even putting it to that much to that agency.
Correct, yes. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that that's where we're going.
Director.
Yeah, that's correct. This was just one, I guess, resolution that could be considered, but absolutely we can consider other agencies, different split of allocations. So if it was our intent to deal with the PILT first, and so if that is determined how the PILT is allocated, we'll know if some of the agencies are not funded using PILT, and then we can deal with the external agencies after that, or if council so wishes, as I hear, to deal with the community agencies first and then the PILT. It really is up to you, Chair.
Okay.
Further clarification on that then. So we're saying if we are going to fund any of these community external agencies, we're only going to fund it from PILT, so it would be a one-time funding only, and it's not part of our taxes. That's the way that it's written right now. Is that correct?
Correct. The current resolutions are basically premised on that. Yes.
Okay. Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And looking at the PILT, I'm just going to look at the PILT allocation proposal from Director Caleb. Overall, I like what I see here in terms of funds for the housing reserve, additional funds for industrial land, one-time support for Kingston General Hospital, and the suggestion for a doctor recruitment reserve, and the one-time for the air show. And the rest going to capital. the one that I would like council to consider that is not in the
Jen, can you
use of,
come and answer this for me?
use of PILT money relates to the National Air Force Museum of Canada. I would like to see some funds, 100,000, something to give to that fundraising group for that initiative out of this capital. That's just one consideration. The other item, and I guess we'll deal with it separately, the Humane Society of Hastings Prince Edward, not to use the funding, PILT, or operating, but I hope we have some discussion on maybe deferring their payment to us to help them in that regard. But those, what I see in terms of one-time use of this PILT fund that I would like to see addressed, but I do like this breakdown in the additions, and particularly housing and industrial land and KGH.
Thank you very much. And you know, you're right on target. In other words, every presentation that we've had is what you'd say important, has very important merit. And the museum and the Humane Society and so on are two particular places that are important, very important, yes, and so are all the others. But that's the problem we've got, and we're not unique. Councillor Quinte.
I'd like to make a suggestion on the Humane Society that we double the term of their loan, like extend it. I believe it's right now they got another 8 years left, and if we could extend that term for another 8 years, that would reduce their payments back to us, and that would help them out. I have supported them in the past, do it personally also, and but the city of Quinte West, we've contributed a huge amount of money to get them into their new building, and at this time, with conditions the way they are, that's the best option I can come up with, the Humane Society.
Thank you.
Anybody else have thoughts on that?
Okay. Councillor Stedall.
I would agree with Councillor Quincy on that and extending the loan repayment, but I would also add that I believe that we should write off the interest. The interest payment is 0.78 of 1%. It's very low. It's not a lot to the city. I know their other loan that they have from the city of Belleville is at 0%, and I would think that we should be able to match that. It's not a huge loss to this to Quinte West.
Councillor Card and then Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to be able to support new KGH funding with all of the pressures that we have. Getting the news on the OSIF cut, that $782,000 is essentially gone that we're putting into reserves. So we have this $3 million of one-time money, and there effectively with the OSIF cut will be nothing going into reserves. I know we're funding some of the priorities here, but the main drivers of our costs over the next generation are the infrastructure gap, the infrastructure funding gap. The capital costs are extraordinary. Staff has advised a 4% capital levy to just maintain our existing infrastructure, and I do not think that this is there's some good things in here. I think that the air show is fair. I'm not going to be able to support funding for the museum, but I don't know if there's a better way, if we should go individually through each item in terms of I think that might be better, but I can't support KGH. We need to send a message to the province. We're going to have our own hospital coming back to us at the end of the agreement. If they ask for an 80% increase like KGH is asking for, which they said they were giving us a break on for our share population-wise, these numbers just spiral. They continue to spiral. We need family doctors. We need to support our own hospital. I appreciate KGH does a lot of good work for a lot of our citizens, but this is not something we can continue to fund healthcare and do our core costs, which I believe the taxpayers are asking us to focus on our core affordable housing, roads, infrastructure, and it's not funding healthcare in this way. Doctors maybe, but.
Thank you. Councillor Counselor O'Neill. Sorry.
Thank you. I agree with Counselor Card. Can we go through each individually, knock them off instead of just talking about each willy-nilly?
Yeah, we can,
And
but Boyce has
we'll do
got a
that.
question, and then we'll get started, okay?
No, I agree with that. I was gonna echo exactly what Councilor Card had said about about not supporting some of them, but it'd be a lot simpler and quicker if we just go through each item and say yay or nay, and
Can you make the slide any larger on the screen? Is that possible or not?
there's bigger.
So do you want to start with the volunteer information? That's the one you want to begin with? And that's an outside agency, Okay, that's the first one to start with. So are we going to fund that, or what are we going to do? I guess that's the question.
Yeah.
Counselor
I'll
Quincy,
make the
then.
motion that we assist volunteer and information. But I just want to clarify that if we do it if we fund them this way, they're not going to come back to our other grants program for funding as well. So that's the way I would like to make that motion.
So you're making a motion,
Yeah, that we fund the $7,500, what they've asked for, on the condition they aren't coming back to the grants funding as well. Thanks.
okay, so
Point of clarification, that's a $7,500 increase. They got 5,000 last year. You're asking for 12,000 or 12,500. So let's get this straight.
Okay? That's what we'll do. That's what I want to grant them.
okay. Director,
Yeah, just to clarify, Mayor, so they have applied for the community grant fund of $5,000, which they've done annually in the past. If they were awarded $7,500 as an annual line item in our budget, they would not qualify for the $5,000 annual grant in the community grants. So essentially, this is a $7,500 increase to our budget because the community grant fund total amount stays the same. It just gets allocated differently. So we're simply asking for a $75 increase to the budget.
okay. So we got a motion that we,
Councilor Reed's got a question.
okay,
Support.
Counselor Reed, sorry, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I would like to see us continue on with volunteer and information, Quinte coming to the community grants, asking for their 5,000 as they have in the past, and that's what I would like to see happening rather than increasing it now every year for $7,500.
Counselor Stedall?
I would support that, what Councilor Reed has just said.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't have a seconder for the first motion, did I? No, so that's motion's not on the table then. So this one is on the table, okay? And it's moved by Counselor Reed and seconded by Counselor Stedall, correct? All right, any
Yes.
further discussions? Counselor Katsovas?
Thank you. If we all support this motion, which I'm in favor of, I would just ask, out of respect to volunteer information, that they don't have to present at the grants, just as a courtesy that we're not wasting their time. We've already heard their presentation at this, correct? So they wouldn't have to come to the grants. We would just award them the 5,000.
Well, I think according to the director, they don't qualify once we do this.
No, sorry, no, Chair. If we denied it, they would qualify for the community grants, and we would invite them to the meeting. But I don't know if we want to make a pre-approval decision on community grants at this meeting. I think we just invite them to that meeting.
Okay.
But again, just ask them that they don't have to present. We have their information. Okay, thank you.
All in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Okay, one off. Trenton Curling Club asking for, you can tell us.
Yeah.
please.
So sorry, we put 11,000 here. We already provide a 4,000 annual allotment to help pay for half of their taxes. So they asked for a 15,000, basically an increase of 11,000. They also asked for an additional, I think it was close to $500,000 for their ice machine. So it's really up to council to make any kind of motion on changing from the 4,000 annual allotment or any kind of capital contribution.
Okay. Okay, Counselor Stedall?
Just a question, point of clarification. They had requested this $15,000 goes towards the property taxes. Is that the amount of their property taxes for a year?
Their property taxes are approximately 8,000. They've asked for 15 to help pay for not only the property taxes, but also so they can contribute to their ice machine and some of their costs of running their operation.
Okay, well, with that in mind, then I would support the 8,000 for property taxes.
So you're making a motion?
Yes.
Second, I need a seconder for that motion. Counselor Armstrong seconds the motion. Further discussion?
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I guess, yes, I guess I will support it. I would have done maybe 84, 86 to include this year's perceived increase to bake that in, but I will also support this or slightly higher if this motion fails. That's all I was going to say.
Okay. Are you clear on the motion, Mr.? Okay, you're good? All right, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, Quinte West Youth Center, explain that to us and we'll go forward with that, please.
Yes, through you, Mayor. Currently, Quinte West Youth Center, which is a building the city owns, they do have a lease agreement with us, and we currently have an annual contribution to the Quinte West Youth Center for $40,000. They have requested an additional $20,000 so that we add them in as a total line item of $60,000. So they have asked for an additional $20,000 in addition to their $40,000.
Okay. Give us a motion or remain the status quo? What is it?
A motion is that we don't increase any more than the 40,000 that we're already paying, simply because when they presented their financials, there was a number of other sources of revenue that they hadn't confirmed yet. So this wasn't their final budget, I don't believe, because it's early. So that's why I would support that we keep the 40,000 plus the lease, but not an increased amount this year.
Okay, got a seconder for that motion, Councillor Katsovas. Further discussion?
Just a
Councillor
question. When they came to present, they were asking for the $20,000 to assist them with their wages for their staff. Is that what that's what I thought I heard, is just asking, is that what everybody else heard? Nobody
Yes, I
remembers.
think you're correct.
Okay, thanks.
Further comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. River Valley Community Center, next. Sorry.
Sort of related, they've asked for a member from council to be part of their board of directors. Was there something that came?
Well,
It's a separate issue, I know,
yeah,
I just
we can deal with that at
okay.
council, okay?
wanted to confirm.
Okay. So we're at River Valley Community Center, correct?
Yes, Mayor, I'll just highlight that there is currently a mortgage on the property that this River Valley Community Center owes the municipality, and I know they need to pay up on their taxes as well. They did approach the municipality last year, and it was deferred to this year, so they're, I believe, requesting $5,000. It was a little bit unclear on the dollar value they were requesting, but they were requesting relief to help their organization.
Councillor Card and then Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Caleb. What are their property taxes owing from? Did they pay anything in 2023? And like, what are their property taxes for the building, approximately?
Okay, through Mayor, it's approximately $4,500 annually, and they have right now about $17,000 owing on their tax roll.
So multiple years owing on the tax, and that they're not making mortgage payments currently.
Correct.
Okay, Councillor Armstrong, go ahead.
They had 2 years of COVID to deal with too, right? They weren't able to generate any
That's right.
revenue. And from what I could see, they've been trying really hard.
Yes.
And they're open to suggestions, unlike some of the other groups that weren't open to suggestions. So I think it's something to really look at.
Councillor Katsovas?
Everyone had 2 years of COVID, respectfully. When the purchase of this building was brought to us, usually staff outlines pros and cons. This had an enormous amount of cons. We shouldn't have even went ahead with it. It just continues to be a money pit. There's 4,500, like I said, but they're not even catching up on that. Director Denouden just said it's well over that, over triple, so I can't support the 5,000. I know it doesn't even make a dent. It looks like 0.01, but we have to keep knocking some of these off to lower the tax.
Well, Councillor Stedall, go ahead.
And I guess just to clarify, this, because of the arrears of taxes, that this could come to tax sale and it would be our own building. And there's a number of different reasons that we would want to have the community group continue to operate it, because they actually are pulling themselves back out of what they had in COVID. And they're getting in the black and they're opening up. So I would definitely support the $5,000, if not the write-off of all of the property taxes, so it doesn't come back to the city. I don't believe this is a building that we actually want to own.
Well, I think it's an asset to the community in particular. They don't have anything else, and they're certainly trying to get started again and to move ahead. So I totally agree with you. But anyways, anything else? Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, I know this is, they have faced challenges, and it is a small group trying to do their best with this community center that's far in the north, that does service that particular area. I mean, I see where we are looking at some giving taxes to certain groups, and maybe that's where we can assist with not having the, with this tax write-off, as Councillor Settle has indicated, because this building will come back to us. So one way or the other, I'd like to try to accommodate something for this small group and this important facility in Quinte West.
Councillor Armstrong.
Is it a heritage site, or potentially?
Through you, it is the Women's Institute, and the Women's Institute still meets there. In terms of its heritage designation, I'm not sure if it has that, but it's very historical in terms of the local community. Thank you.
It's the only one there is that I know of. Lots of things I don't know, but do you want to make that motion, please, and then we'll see if we get a second report?
Can I get clarification what the taxes owing are at this point again?
Well, yeah, clarification on
Through you, Mayor, that was
taxes owing.
17,000.
So I'd make a motion that we would give a grant of 17,000 to have the taxes paid off.
Okay, we've got a seconder for the motion. Councillor Sharp seconds the motion. Motion's on the table. Any further discussion? Further discussion, anyone?
Just a quick clarification.
Thank you, Your Worship. I cannot support this. I appreciate that the community group it is trying. This is a large amount of money. We have other groups, the Curling Club, for instance, but we just did not give them their ask. Dozens of members. Large organization doing a lot also. Obviously, there's others there that we're going to say no to and deny their asks. We're giving them more than they... I think ultimately that what will happen if they're able to get the support from the community and run the fundraisers, it will succeed on its own. But I don't think it's a municipality's responsibility at this point to continue if they're not going to be able to make the mortgage payments and the property taxes. So I'm not going to be able to support it.
Okay, Councillor Quinte?
Just a clarification that the city doesn't have to take over the property if it's a tax issue. It's just an option. And I definitely don't want the city to own this property. And I do agree with helping them, but not to the extent of $15,000. I would support the $5,000 request, and that's as high as I can go. Thanks.
Councillor O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Quinte. We're looking to cut costs. I could support 5,000, but I don't want to jump to 17,000 when the ask is only 5.
Councillor Stedall?
I would amend it to $5,000.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Any further comments? So at this time, the support is 5,000 community center. Okay. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, next one is the, I can't even read that.
It's
Affordable housing.
Connect Quinte Affordable Housing for 100.
Point of clarification on that one, it's discussed in PILT money too, so maybe we could just skip that because it's going to be discussed in PILT replacement.
Sure, okay. Yeah, that's fine. University Hospital, Kingston, KGH, or you, yeah, right. Counselor Cardin and Counselor Quinte.
I will like to move a motion that we keep the $70,000 allocation with no increase. I'm open to, I guess that I'll say one year, or sorry, is it 70 or 80?
It's 80.
80, okay. So I will take the initial 80,000, hold it at that level, invite them back next year, but just a one-year continuation of the current funding level.
Go ahead. Who's-
That's a motion.
I would support it.
Are you making that a motion? Okay.
A motion
second
to
by
keep it
Counselor O'Neill,
80,000, yeah.
Correct? Okay, any further comments? Counselor Consovas?
We did reduce them last year, and again, this is another reduction on what they're asking. Technically, it's $750 they're asking for over 5 years. So at $150, we're not even giving them half. My suggestion would be to bump it to 90, drop to the 4 years. We're at 360 instead of the proposed 350. We're not much over our limit, and also by 4 years, we're not handcuffing the other council as well. They may have 1 year of it to kind of get settled in, but that would be my suggestion. They've came to us, as I said. Many of our residents use their facilities. They do outstanding work, so my suggestion would be 360, 90 over 4 years.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
would the mover be okay with changing it to 90 for next year with no additional year commitments?
I will accept an amendment, 80,000 this year, 90,000 next year, 2 years, no additional commitments, keeping in mind that our local hospital is going to come back in around that time for their agreement. I'm sure they will ask for a significant increase, and we need to have the funds for that. So I will accept that amendment, yes.
Okay.
Can you just clarify that?
Yeah, well,
80,000
what I've got
this
is
year.
4 years.
So no, 2-year agreement, 80,000 this year, 90,000 next year, 2-year agreement. Rest of,
90,000, 2 years total.
So 80 this year, 90 next year, and then
Yeah,
nothing
80,
after that.
yes,
And then
yes.
I would support that.
80, 90, 2 years, right?
So you're saying 80, 2024?
yes, and then 90 in 2025, and then I believe TMH is back in 2026 as well, so we could deal with them kind of together and figure out how much. I believe it's 2026 if I
Correct,
recall.
it is
Yes,
2026.
Thank you. So that would line them up, and we would have a better idea. If the local hospital is going to make a substantial ask, then I think that would affect what we can give to KGH. So line them up.
Okay, I've got a mover,
I have a
I've got a
question.
motion.
More discussion.
I've got a second,
I have a question.
correct? Yeah, okay, just trying to, okay,
Question.
okay. Counselor
Thank
Consovas, are
you.
you done? Okay, Counselor Boyd.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And I'm looking at the running board right now. So if we agreed on the 80,000, we've already got that in the current budget. So that would actually read zero increase, would it not?
Correct.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay.
I have a
Counselor
question.
Consovas.
I will be supporting our local hospital when they come to ask as well, but currently, again, even if it comes up to 90,000, it's still less than half of what we're paying our local hospital. And again, many of our residents use Kingston for many of its facilities and what it offers, so I'm still going to support 90 every year.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Counselor Quinte, and then
What information is it that Councillor Card is speaking of about Trenton Hospital coming back in 2026 and asking for even more money? Which is, of course,
Well,
would be in the next term of council
That's his
anyways.
comment. I
Yeah,
want to stick
well,
to
that's
the
what I'm
budget-
asking.
Budget right now.
Well,
we'll worry
because I was going to suggest that we could fund the university hospital in Kingston with funding after we've finished the term that we're currently dealing with for the Trenton Memorial Hospital, and then that way we're pushing that off into the future. They're still going to get some money. They're just going to have to wait for it. So I don't want to. If we're already contributing money to the Trenton Memorial Hospital right now, I don't want to give any more money to Kingston Hospital at this time. I would do it at a future date. So I'm not going to support the current motion.
Thank you. Counselor Stedall?
I believe with this motion, we're not supporting them anymore. This is the same amount that we supported them last year, this $80,000 if we do it in 2024. So it's not more money at this point. It's $10,000 more next year. And then we stop at that point in time because then I believe the Trenton Memorial Hospital agreement is open at that time, and then we deal with it after that.
Director Denow.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that the Trenton Memorial grant agreement expires in 26, but it's a contribution in 26. So for this one to line up with the Trenton Memorial, it would go to the end of this term. We would need 3-year commitment. And then in 27, the new council would consider both TMH and Kingston Hospital.
Okay, then maybe I will ask for amendment if the seconder will support it to do another 90,000 for the 3rd year to line them up for a 2027 debate for the new council. And just to Councillor Quince's point, of course, I don't have any inside information on the ask in several years, but I think it's fair to say, just based on whether it's capital or staffing costs or any of these, all the cost drivers are going up, and I'm sure the number won't be lower. So that's all I meant.
Okay. Councillor Armstrong.
I support Councillor Kotzevos with the 90,000, but I also look at KGH as our hospital, as I do Trenton Memorial Hospital. I know Councillor Freeman feels that way too, and so I don't like to have one against the other, that kind of tone, because KGH saves a lot of lives.
But I don't think we are trying to put one against the other. I think we're, you know.
I look at them as a family.
I know, and unfortunately, this isn't even part of our responsibility.
No,
That's the unfortunate part, but we seem to be getting more and more involved because
I know.
of the necessity.
We're
And
shooting
we-
ourselves in the foot by constantly funding them.
And then when you do shoot yourself in the foot, you can go to Kingston and they'll mend you.
Okay, all right.
Do we have a motion, Mr. Mayor?
Councillor Freeman.
Yes,
Councillor Freeman.
I'm not quite clear where we are. Do we have a motion, or can I make the motion for the $90,000 this year?
There is a motion.
We do have a motion
I
on the
think we
floor,
have
Mr.
the
Mayor.
motion for 90,000.
We have,
Okay, just clearing that's what I want, but we've heard so many, I wasn't quite sure if they were motions
Well,
or discussions.
Let
Thank
me
you.
make sure, okay? Let me make sure. Mr. Clerk, please
Thank
tell
you.
us where we're at here. in
so the
terms of-
motion on the floor is 80,000 for 2024 and 90,000 for 2025 and 2026.
Okay, well, I can't agree with that. I agree with the 90, so. I'll
Okay,
have
well,
to vote
that's the
no to that.
motion. If that is the motion at this time, and I have a seconder for that motion, correct?
Dave did.
Okay, so we're good. That motion's on the table. If it's defeated, then we'll come back to you, but if it isn't, that's fine. So, Councilor Kosovis?
Sorry, my one last statement, it's from an unbiased perspective. Thankfully, I've never had to use Kingston. I'm still relatively young, but I would just ask if you consider, if any of your family members have had to, and they're going to get there, whether age or whatever reason, and I agree with Councillor Freeman, we need to support this for our extended families and our citizens that do need it at this time, not just because we haven't used it yet.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I seconded the motion, but it was only for the 2 years. I'm wondering if the person that forwarded it could do 90,000 for the full 3 years.
Sure, for council unity, the 10,000, sure, absolutely.
Okay,
90,
so the
90,
motion
90.
Now is 90,000 for the full 3 years, moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Further comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. All right, so we're now at the National Air Force Museum of Canada Foundation, and they're asking Mr. Denow, I want you to make sure it's clear for us, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe it was a 4-year commitment of $500,000 a year to reach $2 million for their capital campaign. And yeah, I don't think I have any other information.
Okay. All right. Discussion. That's what I'm asking for, or mover or something. Discussion first, all right. I haven't got anything to discuss other than what's in front of us. Councillor Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like this decided, this is just in the infancy stage. This year, we're going to be spending $150,000 on the air show. Plus, I believe there's going to be additional policing costs charged to us because of it. I'd like to defer any decision on the this Air Force Museum till next year, where we're not doing this other funds for the Air Force this year.
For the military, yes. Councillor Card.
I will second that motion because it's in its infancy. It's kind of an open-ended. It's a national fundraising campaign, and it is open-ended. There might be more clarity on timelines, and I think next year we'll be in a better position to make it more solid. So I will defer for a year. Also support.
Councillor Armstrong.
I agree with that. When they were in, we asked the questions about what other municipalities are going to get involved. I think once they've gone around to everybody, we can get a better view on where our percentage will be to donate to. I support it, but I just like to see a bigger picture.
But you've been there to see what they're working on?
Oh, I don't disagree with the importance of it and all that, but I just don't feel that we should be the ones that's pony up first. I think it's, you know, or that, for that amount at least.
I don't know of any other municipality gets the PAILT money that we get from them.
We don't get casino money either.
Well, we don't want it.
But people spend money there.
I don't want the casino. I'm happy with what we get from the federal government. I just would like them to step up a little higher, of course. Councillor Reid.
Thank you very much. I appreciate what everyone is saying, but I think that we are being very generous to support them with their air show this year at 150,000. And I also agree that we need to wait on this a while. Yes, it's a very wonderful project that is happening, but I don't see us supporting them at this point in time, especially when we have the huge expense of the air show.
Okay. Councillor Armstrong.
And one more point, it is a national museum, and so I think the feds should really be starting to take a hard look at helping support it. They don't support any of the groundskeeping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It should be at the same level as the Afghanistan Memorial Repatriation Site, which is a national monument. So I'd like to see our MP really push hard to get funding for this project.
I don't disagree with you. It's a national, but that was national from the start. We didn't get funding from the beginning of this museum. So anyways.
I don't know if it was national right off the bat.
Well, it was. Yes, it was because. Was it? Anyways.
Okay, then
I'm not arguing.
Well, then, but they didn't get the funding. They did not. So that's what I'm saying is because it's a national museum, they should be ponying up some serious cash like they do for all the other museums.
I'm not disagreeing.
Okay.
I think that ours is better.
I didn't say that. No, I agree. It's a great spot.
Councillor Stedall, go ahead.
Just another point that was made as well was the fact that any of the revenue that they have from any of the functions is not coming back to them. Exactly. They're saying that the federal government actually puts it in another pot of money. I feel our MP should be taking a look at that. That museum has always got traffic in it, whether people are looking at the museum or they're coming for functions. It's excellent. A lot of revenue, I'm sure, that should flow through there, and I believe they should be. Yeah, it's a huge tourist attraction. They should have that money flow back, and I think that would assist this project.
I'm not saying you're wrong there. I agree with that. And it's unfortunate, but that's not, I can't control how they run their books.
Yeah.
Councillor Quinte.
I want to support the Air Museum, but not this year. I'd be happy to look at this at next year's budget.
Thank you. So I think we're all in line then that this, the motion would read that we do not support them this year. Is that what that's what I'm getting? Do I have a mover and a seconder for that then, please? And then we'll.
We've already got it.
We're already good that way? That's the motion? We do not support this at this time.
It's, the deferral is this effectively the same thing?
Okay, zero sounds better. All right. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, next one is the foundation. Got that
The
done.
Humane Society.
Humane Society is the next one. That's
I'd like to move the motion that we double the term of the repayment on the loan and waive the interest on that amount of money as well. Thanks.
Councillor Stedall,
I would support that.
you'll second that? Councillor Card?
Thank you, Your Worship. I do support extending the term of the loan. I would like to give them a little bit further short-term support with cash flow, and I would like to defer for a few years the rest of this council term. The payments in general, I don't know if the mover and the seconder will accept that amendment, but I think that the number that they need, looking at about a $550,000 deficit this year, I think everyone agrees they're a necessary service in the community, and that's my amendment suggestion. I do support the extension of the term too.
Councilor Quinte.
I'm not going to change the motion. The city of Quinte West already provided payments to help them get up and running. And with the financial picture that we're faced with right now, we are also hard pressed to deal with our own situation. So if we were going to provide some sort of funding in the future, then I think we should reopen the negotiations that we have for whatever services that are ongoing. They did explain that some of the services that they provide aren't being funded correctly, and I would agree to reopening those discussions with the Humane Society to make sure that they are being made as whole as they possibly can with the other services they provide. So that much I agree with, but at this time, that's all I'm prepared to do.
Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the treasurer, if we change the interest rate to 0, what would the yearly cost be on that? Around 50,000, 40,000?
Yes, so if we're changing from a 10-year to 20-year amortization, we will renegotiate the loan, the mortgage. Right now, they are making payments close to $70,000. Of that, about $5,000 is interest. So we would
5,000 a year?
Yes.
Okay.
So we would basically be increasing the budget by about $5,000 in lost interest if we do write off or we do change this loan to have a 0% interest rate.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Caleb, what would their payments be with the amortization extension and drop to 0 interest?
My rough calculations between $35,000 and $45,000.
Okay, so we would be cutting their $70,000 payment in half. Okay.
Everybody good? Councilor Freeman or Councilor Reed? Anything? Okay. Mr. Clerk, do you want to clarify that motion for me at this time so I know exactly what it says?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to council that Quinte Humane Society double the term of the loan and waive the interest.
Okay. We've got a mover and a seconder, so we're good. All right, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. We got one more. YMCA of Canada East Ontario. Want to explain that one to us, please, and we'll carry on.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, they've asked for $15,000 a month, which equates to $180,000 a year annual commitment to subsidize the operating of the YMCA. Currently, we do own the YMCA. We've spent historically over the last 5 years, and in the future 5 years, we'll be spending about $300,000 annually on capital. On our capital budget to fix things, and we currently have about a $70,000 operating budget for building repairs and maintenance as well.
So you're saying we're spending $200,000 a year on capital a year on that building? Is that
Yeah, historically, when it comes to things like the roof or the HVAC or the doors.
How old is the building? 15. Is it 15? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Point of clarification.
Yeah.
I believe this year we're spending $450,000 for roof repairs. There's a generator of $100,000, but is that $100,000 this year and there was reserves for last year? Like this year, it's a lot more that we're spending on them.
That's right. With capital, there's a fluctuation. So I've just given you the average of about $300,000 per year because some years we spend more, some years we spend less. But that's correct. This year, it looks like there's about 600 or so in capital.
So 600,000 capital we're spending this year. We're spending roughly 70,000 in repairs, and we're doing a $520,000 mortgage payment.
Thank you. I forgot about the mortgage payment as well. Thank you.
Going the right way, but it's just a hill. Councilor Quinte.
Well, those repairs are to a dedicated building. That is true. That maintenance does have to be done, but it's not assisting the operations of the YMCA. Other than, of course, we're keeping the people that go there safe and secure as best we can. So, and I do want to assist the operations of the YMCA because we are talking about people using the YMCA to stay healthy. We don't have another swimming pool anywhere, and I don't want the YMCA to go away. So I want it still to remain here. So I believe that we should help them. I just don't want to do $15,000 a month. So I'd like to make the motion that we do $12,000 a month for the year of 2024, and then we can review it again going forward. I want them to continue working hard to increase their membership. The membership has increased since the end of COVID, and I want to see that continue. And if there's any way that we as a municipality can assist with making that membership grow, then we can ask our staff to come up with some creative ways to, do some marketing on that. So I'll make the motion to do $12,000 a month.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Katsoulis. Councilor Card?
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm definitely in favor of some support for the Y. I was going to ask for the working group to continue their work. Just as a councillor, I haven't seen, not being on the working group, I haven't seen financial statements and some of the kind of business plan post-COVID kind of pivot to be comfortable with this amount. It could be too little, to be honest. 12,000 could be too little. I was going to suggest that the working group continue their work, bring something back to council, at some point. But I don't know that I can just kind of support this blindly at this point. But
thank you. Councilor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. It seems like every contract that this city signs, we end up going back. Again, here's a contract that we signed in goodwill with the YMCA. They signed it as well, knowing that they would be in charge of the operation. We would be in charge of the capital. We're doing our part of the contract, and we're simply asking the YMCA to do their part of the contract. We've got this contract. We've had the last one with the Humane Society, and we've got to abide by our contracts. Otherwise, any contract that we sign in the future, the group's going to come back and say, well, council will give us this and this. I'm going to stand fast on this YMCA one. I appreciate the work they do, and I know a couple of us will be actively fundraising for them in the near future. But I'm going to stick with the contract that we've got, that we've abided with over the years, and I would expect the YMCA to do so the same.
Thank you. Councilor Stedall.
So I'm on the working group, and at that meeting we've just had recently, plus the meeting here, both times it was a request for a business plan, and we haven't seen it yet. I understand that they do a lot of the programming, and they took over from us when we decided not to do the programming for the city any longer. However, I've also seen that in the last year, their membership has grown from 1,600 up to 4,400, and I think it's it's going to continue to get back to the level that they had pre-COVID. They also were supported during COVID, so this is where we put all our COVID money, was into the Y. And I'm honestly, if we're going to support them at all, I would support maybe giving them $30,000 for the year and let them come up with their business plan and then come back to us next year, rather than giving them this large monthly amount. I think that they're going to find that they get back to where they were. It's an excellent facility. We've done tremendous amount of work on keeping that building up to speed, and I really think that they are going to come back. And so I would only support a maximum of $30,000 for the year.
Thank you. Councilor Coonsey.
Yeah, can I ask Jacqueline Grimman to comment on this? She's involved with the Y and the programs they offered, and just to comment back that the $12,000, it isn't going to be enough for what they ask. But I want to show support, and I want to show the citizens that we do support the Y, not only the building, but how they conduct themselves as well. Thanks.
Director Grimman, thank you.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Quinte. I'll have to apologize. I'm starting to lose my voice this morning. As some of the members have shared this morning through the working group, we've certainly heard that the Y is rebuilding their membership. They've also been looking at different changes to their business model and making the facility more accessible for drop-in services that are non-membership based. So they are certainly working towards a rebuilding. We certainly continue to hear that they do struggle to get back up to those pre-COVID levels, but I'm certain that they're moving in the right direction, as Councillor Stedel mentioned. We have looked at kind of some different opportunities with them in terms of some satellite programming. We worked with them to support an open pickleball program at the Y to kind of fill a gap in the summer months. But I know with some of the fundraising plans that they've got, as well as some of the changes to the programming and the model of moving away from swimming lessons, which is one of their major contributors to programming at the facility, being paid now instead of included with membership. It's certainly looking to support their revenues moving forward.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. Councillor Sharp.
Thank you. Through you to, I want to speak in support of the YMCA and trying to find some assistance, in particularly this year. And I do like Councillor Stedel's idea, because I know the working group has only met, I think, twice, and there's a lot of work to be done. But if we can assist this year and then look at what that might look like in the future, but I definitely, this YMCA is our community center, it's our aquatic center, it's our gym, it's our facility, and we should invest in capital, and they're looking for some operating. If in fact, and I hope when the committee looks at this, if the city had to, in some capacity, take that over and not have the operating agreement, what those numbers would look like, and they would not be good. So I certainly hope that we can support them and look to doing that. And I know with the working group, they will come up with some really good ideas with the YMCA about external programming or other models to assist them. But this is a very important center. We worked hard to get the pool, and it must be sustainable over time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carr.
Thank you. I would also support 30,000 for this year, and also just expecting that the working group will bring back more fulsome financial business plan documents for as the bones for a longer term agreement or even a draft agreement would be good. Looking at some of the other local municipalities and getting something similar in line, but I would do 30,000 for this year as a stopgap, as a maximum. Thank you.
Councillor Coetzee.
All right. Well, 30,000 isn't going to do it. So if it's decided on the 30,000 amount, can we just pay it in a lump sum rather than spread it out over the term? Because they asked for monthly installments.
Okay. So any other comments or questions? So right now.
I think the director wants to answer his question.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Jack, Director Grimman.
Through Mayor, for the lump sum payment, yeah, we can make that as soon as budget's approved. We can make a payment early in January.
So make it clear to me, what are we going to do?
The motion right now, I believe, is for 30,000.
So
In total.
if Councillor Quinte is going to change his motion, because right now it is, as I understand it, 12,000 per month.
But
That was correct. I didn't get a seconder.
Councillor Kotzebue seconded it.
Okay.
Well, let's get it. Let's vote on the 12,000 a month then.
12,000 a month is what we're
going to vote on that first.
Okay, we got a mover and a seconder. Okay, so 12,000 a month is the motion. All in favor? That's what I need to know. All in favor? 2. Motion's lost. Thank you.
My hand was up. I don't know if you could see that or not.
I didn't see it. I'm sorry. I see it now, but I didn't see it earlier. So sorry.
Yeah, it was
Okay,
there.
thank you. Yeah,
Thanks, Councillor Freeman, but the motion's still defeated.
Still defeated, yes. Still
Okay,
defeated.
I can't see you.
Okay, we
Just
need
know
a
that.
new
Thank you.
motion. Need a new motion. Councillor Stidall, new
So
motion.
I put a motion on the floor is that we support the YMCA with $30,000 one-time payment for 2024, and further that the working group committee come back with recommendation of a business plan for future years.
Okay, I need a seconder for the motion.
I'll second with a draft longer-term agreement, if I may, second with that amendment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, any comments or questions? Comments or questions? Councillor
Mr.
Freeman, you
Mayor?
have a question?
Yeah, I do have a comment. I just
Okay.
think $30,000 is a kind of a drop in the bucket, and this is their tough year. Hopefully, the next years will be better, but this particular year is the one that they're asking for help to get through. And I don't think $30,000 is enough, and I do not want to get that building back and having to staff it from the city doing the job. So that's my comment. I cannot support that motion.
Thank you. Councillor Katsovas?
I would just echo Councillor Freeman's comments. Even 60,000 is a third of what they're asking for, so 30 seems a little low.
Okay. Councillor Sharp?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, before we go back on this and reflecting, would Councillor Stedall change that for this one time? I know they're going to come back and we're going to look at, extending the funding for this agreement going forward once the business plan is here. But would you consider taking that up to half, like $60,000? Give them a little bit more this year of the 120, or no, 80,000 of the 180 they asked for?
No, I'd prefer to leave it at the 30,000 until we see a business plan. We've asked for the business plan and we haven't received it yet. So until that comes, I'd rather stay at the $30,000 and then take a look at it. And it could happen mid-year. I mean, it's not something they may have to wait until the budget, but $30,000 one-time payment for 2024 at this time.
Okay, Councillor Card, then Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would echo that also. There would be ways to bring back an agreement that we could deal with during the year that even had a larger first-year payment to offset, some funding that would have been for the back end of this year. So there's always a way to deal with that. But I think getting the agreement, the bones of the new agreement, and digging into the business plan, I think is the main thing.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone? Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in January, I believe we asked for that group, and I think they met the first time. I think our report says November 28th. So they met for the first time November 28th, which is a couple weeks ago, and we've been asking for the business plan. We haven't seen a business plan. Now they come to council. They want to basically ask for more money over top of what our contract says. I just can't support. At times we have to follow what our contracts say, and I understand entirely the YMCA. I've been a member of the YMCA in the past. I've had family members that used to work at the YMCA. I know it does good work, but I mean we've got to honor and we've got to abide by our contracts. I'm just not going to support this.
Okay. Councillor Coetzee?
Just one comment. If everything would stay the same, then life would be wonderful, but it never does. So we have to shuffle and adjust, just like we've shuffled and adjust, not only on these items, but many other community efforts. We've always tried to work with people to try to make things happen. It's not going to be perfect, but we got to show that we're trying. Thanks.
Okay, do you want to read the motion and we'll make sure we know what we're voting on, please, and then we'll call for the vote.
Okay, through you to council, the motion on the floor is $30,000 for 2024, and the working group be directed to report back to council with a business plan.
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, question?
Mr. Mayor, just one more question. With the working group, could we put a timeline when you would report back? So it's before the budget, like mid-year, or, as soon as we can address this matter?
Can we say July 1st, 6 months?
January 1st?
No, July
1st.
Okay, July the 1st. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. July the 1st, committee reports back to the council by July the 1st. That's in the motion. Okay. All in favor? I gotta get a show of hands here so I know. 2, 3, 4, yeah, carried, thank you. Okay. I think that's the end of our external groups at this time. I'm going to take a 10-minute break. It's 10 after 10, and at 20 after 10, I'd like
Could I
to...
have one point of clarification from the treasurer first?
Yes.
So the external community grants, roughly about $58,000 additional has been approved, is that correct?
We do have it on the screen. I see we are at 54,000.
Well, what about the loss in interest for the Humane Society?
That's in there at 5,000. Are we missing one that you?
Okay,
Well, wasn't the curling club 8,000?
They have an existing amount for 4,000, so it's only an additional 4.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's take a break and get back here by 20 after 10. Thank you. other outside agencies to talk about, correct?
We can do that or the PILT, yeah, either one.
Okay. Want to do that first or the PILT? What would you like to do? Shoot yourself or decide?
External agency.
Okay, external agencies, can you list those, please, and put them up so we can? I know some people want to be out of here by noon, and I'm one of them. If there anybody disagrees,
I do not disagree.
okay.
All right, so Your Worship, we have the list on the screen
Well,
here.
yes, I want to get it done too.
Okay, let's go.
That's what I want as well. Okay, external agencies. We'll start with, I guess, Quinte West Library. Did we deal with that one or no? I thought we did. No? Maybe we did, but we didn't, I guess. Okay. So, want to clarify for us exactly what it says to us?
Through Your Worship, basically we brought down the increase to 5%. It was roughly 20% proposed, and this essentially takes away the ability for the library to have funds for any kind of growth or service level change, and basically just provides an inflationary amount for salaries.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
I'll move the motion that that's what we do.
and I'll second it.
Okay, we're going to move in a second. There are comments. You know, I'll tell you, I was here when we built this building. Yes, I was. And it was a difficult decision that we made to build the library, because at that time, many of the books were becoming, I guess you'd say, obsolete and put into AV form and so on. So we built it. And I'll tell you, I'm proud that we did. I'm very proud that we went ahead and built the library we did. Maybe it should have been bigger, yes, and it is well used. And what I love about the use of it is that there are many young children coming in here and using the facilities.
One of them's my grandson.
And they are the future generations of this country, and learning to read and comprehending, enjoying reading, understanding what you're reading and learning. Fantastic. That's my opinion. So I really, and Frankfurt Library as well, you know, that's an asset to us, and I know it's a tough decision. I guess I come in from the other end saying that we need to support it to the best of our ability, and maybe that's what we're doing, but that's my feeling. So,
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Quinte.
would staff like to comment on the investments that the library just went through for the past, I think it was the last year or the year before, where I think it was this year they completed it.
Yeah. Just opened here a couple, or I don't know. Time flies for me. A month ago, maybe.
Who from our staff can comment on the amount of money that was just invested in the library?
Yeah, we're still going to the point. Any update? I know maybe we should ask Jerry, but.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to say off the top of my head, it was probably between $300,000 and $500,000 worth of investment, but don't hold me to that. That's off the top of my head. But.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, a lot of money was invested to refurbish the library, just like we're refurbishing the workspace in the second floor for the staff. And I think that this is a reasonable request for this year, and if we can do something else next year, then for sure we'll be listening.
Okay. Any other comments? That's all I need to know. If there aren't, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. Thank you. Quinte Transit, it's another growing part of our city. Getting, wasn't that long ago we were looking at, I guess, the horse and buggy. Well, not quite that far, right? But you've done a lot of good work. We've done much good work in getting connections in Belleville and making transfers and allowing people to get to appointments and get back on buses and get back here, get to have a Loyalist College, and that's another sore spot. But anyways, we sold
Mayor,
that land that we shouldn't have. But
I'd like to
to
move the original request and not the reduced amount. We need to get the people all over the place. We have a very large catchment area in Quinte West, and with the challenges that people have to get around and get to school, get to work, back and forth, as you just mentioned about joining up with the city of Belleville, keeping that lanes open, if you want to put it that way, and getting back and forth from Trenton to Frankfurt as well. It's all important to people to get around, and I want to go back to the original amount and not this reduced amount.
Okay, do I have a seconder for the original request? No seconder? No seconder? No seconder? Okay, Councillor Stedall?
I just want clarification. I believe the original amount request was $355,000. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah, 17.5% increase. I think it was just over 310,000 or so, yeah. Yes.
308, not.
Okay, we're bouncing around all kinds of figures.
Sorry,
Director,
what
give
was-
us the exact, what we're looking at, what the motion will be.
Well,
Sorry, Mike. I'm just grabbing the math
yeah, it
here.
looks like 308.
308?
Yes, 308,500 was the original request.
Okay,
So can I just give a bit of context for that? So I'm on the transit board. I'm the council member that's the representative on the transit board. So just to give a little bit of background, so there was some additional reserves that were available in previous years that have helped the transit for operations. This year, those funds, that was COVID relief funds, they're gone. So that's part of the reason for the increase. They've got, full staff. They've got some new services that they're actually making money from. So they're headed in the right position, the direction. They're going to be coming out of it. There's lots of grants that are available for capital projects, so they can buy buses. But the problem is they can't keep the buses on the road because the operations money's not there. So the other factor that they have is that they don't have the federal gas tax has not increased, I believe, in 5 years, something like that. It's a terrible amount. It's $300,000. Is it $300,000 out of almost a $6 million budget, and it just hasn't increased. It's something that I believe we need to really support at Roma and different conferences to try and get ministry. So I would recommend, instead of the 308, that we reduce that to 208, that we support them with $208,500 this year, and that $100,000 not be a reduction in their service level, that they would take that from a capital reserve they have at this time, and then hopefully with some of the new programs that they have with additional routes and things like that, and there's been an increase in fees, that they can get to a better level for next year. So the resolution would read that we would support Quinte Transit 208,500 in 2024.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Sharp? Okay. Further comments, questions, comments? All in favor? One. Well, I need a vote. Okay, 1, 2. Carried on this end, carried on that. Carried, thank you. Okay, Quinte Waste Solutions, where are we now with it, Mr. Denelton? We should be,
Yeah, so the amendment here, so with their latest budget, they required an extra 156,000, of which we put a reserve transfer of 156,000, so that there would be no net effect on the tax levy for this year. That would bring the total in this reserve draw for over 2 years of 555,000, which we would plan to pay back over the next 2 years at council.
okay, so the motion, we need a motion to that.
I'll make the motion that we go with that.
Quincy moves, seconded by, I need a seconder, Councillor Boyce. Comments or questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. That's great. Okay, Hastings County, this will be a little different, I'm sure. You want to bring us up to date? Director,
Yeah,
please?
through your worship. We don't have any numbers from Hastings County at this point. At the first version of the budget book, we simply aligned the increase for Hastings County to the city's budget, just for first proposal. At this point, we've actually presented maybe an increase here, 7.5%, that would significantly reduce the the budget by about 1.25% on the tax levy. Of course, this is very preliminary. The nice thing is that we do have a reserve, a stabilization reserve, if the Hastings County budget comes in over 7.5%. So at this point, it's kind of our best guess, and we do have a reserve to draw on if they come over the 7.5%.
So you're picking around 900,000, roughly.
That's correct. An additional 900,000 to their budget is what we've got in there right now for this.
And that's for all the services that they provide for us. Okay, thank you.
I'll make the motion that we follow this recommendation.
Well, okay. I guess we can do it that way. It's sort of like a floating one, this one, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Quinte. I need a seconder for the Hastings. Councillor Sharp.
I got a question, Your
Yes, okay.
What's
Go ahead.
what's our stabilization amount right now?
Through you, Mayor, just going to get the exact number. It is 260,000.
260.
60.
Our original was, the increase was going to be 1.338. We're bringing it down to 878 plus your amount. So if what you had anticipated is correct, we'll be about $200,000 off still, and we'll have to end up going back to our taxpayers or find it in the capital reserve or something. My fear, and I'm going to say it now, is that to try to bring down this budget this way, we may have just dropped it too much with that amount. And I hope I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. I think, I'm on two of the three committees, and I'm quite honestly, I'm fearful of the budgets that are being proposed. I know we've got about 30% voting power on the budget, but I mean, all it takes is Belleville and the county to vote against us, and what we say means nothing. So I'm worried that we're bringing down this to a little too far, but time will tell in April whether I'm right or wrong. I just want that on record.
Everybody's in the same boat, including Belleville.
Well, Belleville's only asking for a 5% increase
Okay.
for operating.
Thank you. Councillor Card and Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through Director Denowden, do we typically, that stabilization reserve, would we typically be topping that up if we draw it down significantly, the 200,000? Is that going to be kind of a start out number for the levy for next year, or what?
Yeah, through Your Worship, if we did end up using the reserves, then next year we would likely start in a position where we need to make up that amount next year at the start of the budget, yes.
Okay. Councillor Quinte, then Councillor O'Neill.
And then on the other hand, if some miracle takes place and Hastings County budget comes in at 7% instead of 7.5%, then we'll be able to boost up our reserve by that amount accordingly. Thanks.
Correct.
I did say miracle.
Yeah, I know it's Christmas.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Hastings County's having just as much fun with their budget as we are with ours. This is day 2.5, longest budget discussions in my entire history. You could add all of the other meetings on budgets together, and still aren't going to amount to the number of hours that we've spent on our budget in my time on council.
Time well spent. Time well spent. Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Director of Finance. For the allocation of the PILT money, to address Councillor Boyce's concerns, could we add a couple $100,000 to that stabilization reserve, allocating it there?
Yeah, through you, Mayor, that's definitely an option.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was going to echo what Councilor Neal just said, because that way we can build it back up, and we haven't used and nor should we, all the PILT money, but certainly that is a very good suggestion, and because I understand where we're coming from, or Councillor Boyce is, that we don't know, we won't know the budgets for Hastings County till March or April, and that's always put us at a disadvantage, and we always try to get the number sooner, but they rely heavily on provincial funds. So we originally had 11.4%, over $1.3 million in the budget to address Hastings County, and Hastings County is our partner service, so it's not external in my mind, it's how we get the business of paramedics, volunteers, social service, long-term care done.
So it's a
But
partnership.
It's a partnership. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So with regard in this decrease to 7.5%, I still think is reasonable, and we have the stabilization. But I really feel we should top it up when we deal with the PILT. I agree with Councilor O'Neill. But we don't have the numbers. But they're not going to be good, that's for sure.
Well, I don't disagree with topping it up, but I don't want you to feel that you have to use it.
No, exactly.
Okay. You don't have to use it. Thank you. Councillor Stendhal.
And I would support the top-up because I do believe that they'll probably come in a little higher than what we are expecting, because the 7.5, I believe, is only levy. However, I guess the onus then gets put back on our council members that are sitting on all of these boards at the county, is to really make the statement there is that this is all that we can afford. And I know it's not just the county, it'll be at places like Roma, which is meeting before the provincial budget is set, to make sure that there is funding available, and making sure that we're supporting our county when they're asking the province for additional funding for the different services that they provide. So we really need to make a statement, is that this is all we can afford.
Thank you. Councillor Boyce.
Yeah, and I agree. I know all four of us are going to be loud and clear on it. But my concern is this whole, when we deflect it that much, then we say, oh, it's only, our tax levy is only up 1.66. Oh, okay, we can look at a 7% increase, which I'm going to disagree with to begin with anyways. But in a true reflection is it's actually going to be higher than 7%. When this number, I think that number is just, and I know we can't be mind readers, but I think it's artificially low, way too low.
Well, that's fine. We'll live with it, and we are, what you'd say, supportive of your work, and you're going to do your best to support what we're asking, right? Thank you. Okay. Now we're at other external agencies,
Sorry,
correct?
we need a vote on that.
Councillor, pardon? We didn't vote. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All in favor of the Hastings County? It's carried, thank you. Sorry about that. I guess I was thinking we didn't have an option, but that's okay. So next is other external agencies. Councillor Elliott, you're on first.
Yeah.
Did you want to go ahead, Mr. Dunham?
If I could just clarify, the main thing in there, I know it's pretty broad, other external agencies, the main reduction there is Quinte Conservation. We've removed Category 3, so that's ultimately the decision that Council's making with this this update.
You said Quinte Conservation?
I'm sorry, yes,
no.
Lord.
Anyway, I just want clarification on that. When I seen it come up the other day after the redraft, I'll put it that way, it was my understanding when we discussed it the other afternoon, when I asked guidance for Councillor Reid and I, which we got to make a decision this Thursday afternoon on that budget of Lower Trent. My understanding was that Chris thought there were some good portions of the Category 3 of the MOU. Whatever you council proposes, I'm willing to carry forward. Mrs. Reid can speak for her vote. We also have to all remember when we vote for this on Thursday, there's that 18% increase they're asking, and some of that is, of course, increased assessment plus the operating and capital budget too. So I would like myself, I can't speak totally for Mrs. Reid, but she and I's had discussions. We would like guidance on how you want us to proceed this Thursday in regards to both of these proposals, because the MOU is separate from the 18%, which is the capital and operating.
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Quincy.
I think it's extremely important that we ask Lower Trent Conservation to include the level Category 3 items and continue to do so. This is just another form of provincial downloading. The province of Ontario has made several changes to the Conservation Act over the past 3 and 4 years, and this Category 1, 2, and 3 is something that's happened this year, and that's why we're seeing it this way. And it is important to our citizens and our friends in the forests and the rivers that swim and drink the water, just however it is. And we need to support this, so that Lower Trent Conservation and Quinte Conservation and Conservation Ontario knows that Quinte West is supporting their efforts to educate people on water and the use of water and how to take care of the land that the water's running across. Thanks.
Okay, Director Angelo, any comment at this point in time, or somebody else in your staff make a comment? Go ahead.
Through Your Worship, no, I believe Councillor Quinte said it very succinctly. I don't have any additional comments, no.
Do you want to tell everybody what the Category 3 items are?
I can again. I guess when we talked about it last Thursday, Category 3 items include things like the Children's Water Festival that supports about 1,200 children in our community over a 2-day event that the Conservation Authority, in conjunction with a couple of my staff, participate for that. It's also the tree planting program that the Conservation Authority has done for a number of years. And I think a good portion of that Category 3 costs are the sampling and monitoring of streams and rivers within our watershed, in that Lower Trent Region Conservation Authority watershed, that reports on the health of the water quality and the flora and fauna in that area in terms of the annual reporting card. And as I mentioned on Thursday, without that data, the program was pretty much lost, right? It's something you can't do every other year, every third year. Without that data, the report card won't be able to be produced, indicating the health of the streams and the quality of water coming into the river and that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to ask, I'll just get a couple more comments and I'll come back. Matt Tracy, do you have any comments, or you good?
Through Your Worship, no, I don't have anything further.
Director Jardine.
Through Chair, no other comments other than those made by Director Angelo. Obviously, the monitoring work that the conservation authorities do to assess the health of the watershed is very important work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stedall.
So I guess my question is more about, it's not the Category 3, it's the base budget that Councillor Elliott was talking about, the 18% increase, because they are already, they're getting an increase in growth, plus they're adding on to it. So their increase in growth is 4%, and then they're adding the balance on to get them up to this 18% increase. So I would recommend that the councillors, if they can, and Councillor Reid may want to speak to this too, is go back to Lower Trent and request that our reduction is $50,000. And it can be, I don't believe it should be Category 3. There's a lot of good things that are in there. I think it needs to go back to probably Category 1 and maybe Category 2 items.
Thank you. Councillor Reid, any further comments?
No, I understand where everyone is coming from, and Councillor Elliott and I appreciate the importance of all of the Category 3 things. We do want direction. I would think that from listening to Director Angelo and others making a call, that the Category 3 items are very important. If we don't keep those reports, we have nothing to build on. And so I'm thinking, what I'm hearing is that perhaps the Category 3 items in the MOU should be approved, but we would go back to our meeting on Thursday with Lower Trent to perhaps suggest that the 18% that they've requested for their tax levy, they go back to the drawing board and come up with a better number. That's what I'm just surprised. Am I understanding
right.
everyone that way?
You're right.
Yeah.
I don't think we've given you a better number, but I think your idea is right. Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to speak in support of the Category 3. I think that data is very important, and we do not have the capacity to take that on or that skill set. And if we lose that watershed data, sampling our water, that is not a good situation. I believe if we could recommend back to our representatives on Lower Trent Conservation that we retain Category 3 and that we look to take back the budget at a different rate, the overall Lower Trent budget, to see if something more can be done. That's what I'd like to see, but not at the expense of Category 3. Thank you.
Okay, do we have, Councillor Quinte, go ahead.
On the 18%, I believe, I must admit, I don't sit on Lower Trent, so I believe it's a combination of capital operating wages for their operations, already using up reserves, and Councillor Ellier and Councillor Reid can, I mean, they're there talking about it, so they could speak directly as to where the 18% is coming from. And Councillor Sharp touched on it. Any of the services that the conservation authorities do provide to the city of Quinte West, we don't have the staff to do any of those forms or applications or water assessments. And if we don't have the conservation authorities to do that for us, then we're going to have to do it. And that's going to cost us even more money because we'd need staff, we'd need working spaces, we'd need vehicles, we would need training facilities to get the staff comfortable with the situation. So the Conservation Authority, if it's 18%, it's 18%. It's going to be way cheaper to do it that way than for us to take it on and do it ourselves. So if it's got to be 18% for this year, then so be it. Again, another form of provincial downloading. It's been coming for years.
Well, is the Conservation Authority any different than Quinte Transit?
No, I supported Quinte Transit.
Well, I know, but we didn't support them to the full amount, so.
Well, I was one that wanted to support it to the full amount.
I'm just saying that they're all, we're dealing with everybody as fairly as we can.
Well, it was one thing about drinking water and having water not be in your basement or on your roads than to get a ride around town. Those are two completely different topics, that's for sure. So the Conservation Authority, as it stands right now, they're responsible for water and flood levels. And I believe in 2017 and 2019, we certainly were talking about flooding, and the Conservation Authority gave its warnings and made its recommendations, and the city of Quinte West was able to react and do whatever we could to help people who were having flooding issues. But anyhow, I'm supporting the Conservation Authorities, both of them.
Director Angelo gave us as much or more information. Thank you. Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Point of clarification to Director Denowden. The list says $430,060 increase, but the Category 3 costs, are they only about $50,000?
Yeah, so right now you're seeing
So we're just talking $50,000.
$50,000 for Category 3, but then the other 18% is about $90,000.
Okay. But we're only talking about the $50,000 right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Card. Then I'll come.
Thank you, Worship. I was just going to suggest that we vote on sending our councillors back, asking to find $50,000 in savings, and let's vote on that. Whether it's in the Category 3 or some mixture, maybe they decide they want to pull out the festival but keep the tree planting and the testing. That's up to them with their operations. But let's send it back with trying to find $50,000 in savings. We move that.
Okay. I think Councillor Sharp made a motion, or
sorry.
had it. You're just tidying it up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mine was a little more specific with the Category 3, actually.
Right.
I want to support Category 3 and ask that the Lower Trent, our representatives on Lower Trent go back and see if they could find some savings in other areas of the budget and come back.
And
Give
I-
it a little, send it back one more time and then
And
report
I
back.
think
But
Council-
not at the expense of Category 3.
Councillor Card is tidying it up for you. That's what I thought.
If they wanted to get rid of the festival to facilitate the 50,000, I think that what we're hearing is that the water testing seems to be the really non-negotiable in the Category 3, but it is Councillor Sharp's motion.
But you are suggesting that they find a saving of 50,000. That's the figure.
Exactly, and if they wanted to pull out that specific one out of Category 3 to facilitate that, the festival, for instance, or do half of the tree planting, all the festival, all the testing, I would let them figure out their own operations, but just to find the 50,000 while keeping the water testing.
Okay, Councillor Stedall's next, then Councillor Reed, then Councillor Boyce. Okay.
I would support exactly what you were saying with the 50,000. So what Councillor Sharp is saying, but with the caveat, it's give them an amount, and the amount being 50,000, just so
Okay,
that.
can you just hold that till I get there, and I'll come back. Councillor Reed.
Thank you. My understanding, and perhaps Councillor Elliott can direct me differently, but they need to pass their MOUs by the end of December. We have a meeting on Thursday. So we need to give them some direction as to how to go with their MOUs for Category 3. And I think that we are not the only municipality that would like them to revisit the budget and lower it from 18%. So, am I correct, Councillor Elliott?
Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
Yes, thank you, Worship. And further to Mrs. Reed's comments, we're dealing with two separate issues in a sense here. The MOU is over and above the regular budget that is being called the 18% one. It's a whole separate issue. So we've got to, we're either going to support what a staff has brought forward to reduce $50,000 in MOU, or we accept it as a total package. And my understanding is, from what I'm hearing, council wants to support it in a total package, but find $50,000 reduction in the 18%, which is a separate vote we'll be taking. Normally, we just have the one when they're doing the budget, but this MOU is a new thing that come along. And certainly get back to Councillor Quince's, what they've said in the years I've sat there, the province has cut us 48%. And they never really paid what they should have back in those days. The original budget stayed for about 24 or 25 years, I believe.
Correct.
Never was reflected in inflation, and over those years, our budgets always went up and down or whatever, but theirs didn't. And then when Mr. Ford got in, he did cut us 48%. So you're absolutely right. We're getting downloading, and to carry the business and the operation along, we, the bottom taxpayer, are footing the bill for some of this. So either we do carry on some of the business forward that we're doing, or we're just going to have to start cutting.
So can I
Thank you.
comment?
Okay. Okay, you're next. Then. Okay.
Thank you. I was going to ask Councillor Reed and Councillor Elliott, when they talked about the tree planting and the water festival, has the committee looked at sponsorship programs?
I'm sure they do, but
I think they apply for everything, as far as I know. They had one outside agency that I think it was Egram, or the name, but you remember that? I think it was there when you were there. Used to subsidize it quite a bit, and they give grants and whatever. But a lot of that stuff has dried up. And then, of course, over COVID, they didn't have the water festivals and stuff either. And but there are outside agencies that they're always applying to and trying to ask for donations and support.
Yeah, because I know one of our banks in Belleville used to do foot the bill for the entire tree planting, and it was quite a substantial amount.
Councillor Stedall, you good? Okay, Councillor Coates, then.
So staff is asking us to vote or decide on the Category 3. I think that's what we should be concentrating on, and we will trust Councillor Reed and Councillor Elliott to work on the other budget amount of the 18% with their fellow members that are sit on the board, and whatever they come up with, that's what I'm prepared to agree to, because unless you actually sit on these boards and see all of the services that are provided, it is really hard to envision all the work that the conservation authorities go through. Like if somebody wants to build a house, yes, they come to the city for their building permit, but if they are anywhere near any water, they need Quinte Conservation to come. If you're doing septic services, Quinte Conservation, or not Quinte, but Lower Trent Conservation. And Quinte Conservation, they do the same thing. And with all the conservation authorities, they're all doing this this category 1, 2, and 3 services because the province of Ontario has passed legislation to make them do it. It's not like they just pulled it out of their back pocket and said, oh, let's do category 1, 2, and 3. No, that's not what's happening. It's all the conservation authorities across the province, as legislated by the province, that have done this. So let's vote on the category 3, and yes, I will be supporting it, and allow Councillor Elliott and Councillor Reid to do their best with the rest of their challenges they see before them while they are on Lower Trent Conservation Authority. Thanks.
Point of clarification, what we're voting on the other external agencies, that would just be earmarking $50,000 less than the current budget. Is that correct? Rather than actually giving guidance on category 3 specifically, we're just allocating $50,000 less than the current budget.
That's right.
Yeah, that's correct. That's what that reflects.
Okay, so we got a motion right now. Okay, we did have, I thought, Councillor Sharp made a motion that, okay, well, let me get this clear first, that the Conservation Authority budget be cut by 50,000. That's what was given as a direction, and that figure was given to our members on both the Quinte and the Lower Trent. That's where I'm coming from. So I need do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Stedall. Okay, so that's on the table at this time. And is your comment regarding the motion, Councillor Reid?
My comment is regarding the motion because I thought we needed, Councillor Elliott and I made it kind of clear that we need to have some direction as to whether we're retaining category 3 or we're not retaining category 3. So my thought was that the motion was made to retain category 3, and Councillor Elliott and I go back to Lower Trent to lower the budget from 18%, hopefully by $50,000. That's what I understood the motion to be.
That is my motion.
That you want them to be responsible for category 3 because that's a whole board issue.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my motion is to retain category 3, not remove it, and that the board representatives go back to Lower Trent to negotiate the remaining increase, how they wish, and report back. That is my motion.
Okay, that's retain category 3 and reduce by 50,000. Councillor Stedall.
Yeah, so I guess the question is for the Director, Finance, is that he will need a number to fill in so that we can figure out what percentage we're getting to today. And so that's why I'm, agreeing with Councillor Card in that we say $50,000. We agree that the category 3 needs the MOU should be approved, but the $50,000 is something that we're looking for. We need that direction today in order for us to finalize today's discussion. So that's what we're asking the councillors that sit on Lower Trent is to go back and to request that the Conservation Authority lower their percentage so it will save the City of Quinte West $50,000.
So you see, that's where I'm having a concern. I understand what you're saying, but I don't know how we can determine how they saved the 50,000 if we say you have to keep category 3. I think that's their option. That's their responsibility to decide how they've saved the 50,000.
Correct. They'd be saving it within that 18% increase, whether they increase their fees or cut their staff or cut their services or do whatever, but that's that part. Yes, that's the number.
Councillor Quincy.
I believe it's extremely unfair to tell Councillor Elliott and Councillor Reid to go back and say $50,000. I agree that they're going to go back and they're going to do their best to save wherever they can, or even if they can't. But to just stick $50,000 on it, that is, you might as well put cement anchors around their legs and throw them into the river, because they're not going to be able to do that. There are 2 votes on a board that doesn't have they don't have full control. So I think we should be just allowing them to go with the category 3 and let Councillor Elliott and Councillor Reid do their best with any negotiations they can on the operations and the capital expenses for Lower Trent Conservation. So I can't support limiting to $50,000. It's completely unfair and is quite unreasonable. It can't be done.
Councillor Boyce, please.
Except for we did the exact same thing with Hastings County. You gave us a figure that you wanted us to do, and now you're saying, well, you know what, Hastings County reps got to do it, but not the conservation. I have no issue with saying 50,000. We're not saying you have to eliminate the category 3. We're just saying find 50,000. And we did the exact same thing with Hastings County. It's nothing different.
Not at all. Not at all, because Hastings County hasn't presented anything. Here with Lower Trent Conservation, we've seen their presentation. They came to our council chambers back in October, and we basically said, Quinte Conservation, yes. Lower Trent Conservation, maybe. Come back to us. And Councillor Elliott and Councillor Reid have been working on that. But as far as Hastings County goes, yeah, you're right. Many members do sit on the boards, but we haven't seen an actual budget, so it's not the same at all.
So you
well, listen. We're splitting hairs here. You've got, you know what you have to do. That's it. Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Denouden, is there a reserve fund if they can only come back with 30,000 in savings? In the interest of moving this debate forward, is there some reserve that we can tap? $10,000 for?
So through you, Mayor, we don't have a stabilization reserve for the conservation authorities. It's a smaller budget, but we could come back. We do have a climate change reserve. I mean, we could come back with alternatives if we end up in a precarious position.
In the interest of time, why don't we vote on this and we can let our councillors do their work, and we will deal with whatever number they come back with. I think is fair.
Councillor Elliott.
Just one final comment from me. The feeling I'm getting, and Mrs. Reid, you correct me if I'm wrong, we as a group, when we go out there to vote, we're going to approve the MOU because it's a separate issue. That's 2 and 3, because we already approved category 2 was needed, and we're also saying category 3. So we'll support the MOU because it's got to be, as Mrs. Reid says, it's got to be sent through the province before the end of this month. But when it comes to the vote for the 18%, we're going to say no, go back and review and see if there's more savings to be had.
Right.
That's the feeling I get. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct. We gave you
so whatever that number ends up, and you are right, we're only 2 votes. We are a weighted vote, though, because we support that group
48%, isn't it?
by about 43%. So we do have some clout, but I can tell you there are some other municipalities that are representatives on there are not totally happy with the number either. That is the regular budget that's being brought forward.
I'm just asking that you do your best, and if you feel that it has to be 18%, then I'm 100% behind you. Whatever you and Mrs. Reid feel has to be done, I'm going to stand behind your decision on what you come up with.
Okay. I'm not standing behind you. I'll stand in front of you. Okay. Go ahead. And the history of the Conservation Authority is, as Councillor Allier said, their budget from the province was $333,000. In a good year, it rose to $334,000. But then recently they cut that amount of money to $68,000 from the province. So that again is downloading for you and I. That's what it is. So. Okay, we got a motion. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you.
It wasn't guaranteed at the $50,000 just to do their best, or did we limit it at 50,000? Because that's impossible.
I'm sure they'll come back with 60 or 70. Councillor Stedall.
Or nothing.
can we give direction to the Director of Finance, what number to reduce this amount for the other external agencies, or do you have direct direction?
So we have direction to take 50,000 out of the budget, and that's what we got from the motion. So this budget reflects 50,000 less than what was originally proposed.
Okay.
So just to clarify, that 2.28 on the screen then is with the 50,000 out?
No, it'll be less than that.
Yes, we are updated, and that includes it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else under external agencies? No? So we're good? So can you give us a figure now as to where we're at, or do we have to go back to the PILT money and decide?
Yeah, I think we can give you an update. Now, this does make the assumption that PILT money pays for the 150 air show, I believe. And we'll get it on the screen here for you.
Okay.
So with the PILT money paying for the air show, we're currently at a 7.65% average residential tax increase.
The PILT money will cover the air show, correct?
Well, this is the next motion that we're looking we're looking from council.
All right, okay. Any other questions before we go on to the, okay, so you want to put up the PILT money then, and we'll take a look at how we're going to get some, okay, so air show costing operating budget so for the 150,000 and housing for reserve up to 550,000 and so on and so forth. So, which is a total of allocations of 3.32. So that's the total amount we've got, correct?
That's correct.
The check's in the mail?
It should be this week.
This week. Should be this week. Better be this week. Better be this week. Any comments on what we've got, what you have in front of you? That's what I need to know.
As far as the air show or any of the items?
Yes.
So question on the housing reserve, brings the balance up to $1 million. I'm just wondering, is that enough? I know there was, we've had the application that went to the federal government for the housing, and I know we're looking at something that's going on at College Street property. So I think that 550,000 may be a bit low for housing this year. I think it's something that we want to move forward, and we want to make sure we've got some money in it. That's so I would recommend that change maybe be made up to the $1 million.
Okay.
Can I hear from Director Jardine on that issue then? Because I'm thinking to myself, until I see a real plan, I mean, I know we got a plan, but until we get some approvals from above, I don't think we necessarily need to give that a reserve $1 million. I don't mind moving it to the million, but I don't think we need to do anything more until we have more information.
Director Jardine will listen to you, and I hope you've got a check in the mail too. That'd be great news.
Mr. Mayor, no, unfortunately not. This is a hard one to put a number on this because obviously it will, I think he spoke to this when we met last week. It really depends on which of the housing plan initiatives Council wants to move forward as a priority. If the priority is College Street project, which is the biggest, the largest impact project out of the ones that are in the plan, then yeah, $1 million still wouldn't meet the level of funding that we're hoping to get from CMHC, from the federal government for that project. If, however, we turn our direction onto some of the other initiatives, then yeah, certainly a larger reserve would help us move forward with some of them, but it's very hard to put a number on that. We'd allocated over $2 million to assist with the College Street program through the funding application. So definitely, even if the reserve was $1 million, that would fall short of what we'd estimated. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the project couldn't move forward. We would just have a different incentives package to promote it. So very hard to put a number on it, as outside of what we'd applied for in the funding, which is over $3 million, and I'm guessing council's
But
not going to go there.
basically, what you're saying, this will move us forward.
It will move us forward. It will
And
definitely,
if
the more money in that reserve, the better position we'll be in to be able to initiate and implement some of the projects. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
So can I follow up with that?
Councillor Card, then Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I think that that's the most important point, is the more that we put in, the more that we're going to be able to do. And this is going to be the largest, I think, any way you cut it, it's going to be the biggest levy increase in the history of the city. When the press release and the communications are written for this, I think it's very important to say the largest investment in affordable housing in the history of Quinte West. That's very important, and that can be a lead paragraph sentence. So, we can, if there was some extenuating circumstances later, we can always shuffle money around from the reserves. I mean, it's almost, splitting hairs. We can move money from capital reserve to industrial lands later and vice versa. They're just reserve funds, right? So, but I think in terms of communication, we've heard a lot from the citizens. This is an area they want investment. I absolutely support this.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think putting the housing reserve up by 550,000, which will get us a balance of $1 million, is a very, very good start. One of the groups that came that wants to, assist and work with our community on affordable housing asked that we put the reserve up by 150,000. We are adding 550,000. I know it's not going to do everything, but it certainly takes us to $1 million balance. So totally support that. The industrial land reserve, which we basically had depleted, is now at $1 million, and that in itself is a start. The doctor recruitment reserve, I think, is great, and the city capital reserve for infrastructure, primarily roads. That's good. That we're allocating to our infrastructure $1,132,000. The only recommendation I have, when we talked earlier, and I think it was Councillor O'Neill, was transferring some funds to a stabilization reserve for social services. So I want to add that in, or I'll ask Councillor O'Neill to put that motion forward.
My understanding is the KGH to fully fund the new request was at $350. Now it's only going to be $30,000. So there's $320,000 left that we could put to the stabilization reserve. Or we could put part of that too towards the tax increase for 2024 too.
I
But there's
support
still
that.
$320,000. Is that not correct, Director?
Yes, 300.
Sorry, I wasn't catching the 320,000. Can you explain that
Well,
again?
you had the 350 budget, which was $70,000 increase at 5 years. Now it's only a $10,000 increase for the 3 years. So you take 30 away from the 350. That's where I'm getting the 320.
Oh, I see. What we originally had there for KGH. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So roughly 330,000 to stabilization reserve for social services. Okay. Yeah, that would be reasonable.
Councillor Card?
I was just going to second the 200,000 initially, just because that would only be 800,000. If we take 332 from capital reserve, that goes down to 800,000. That's only going to offset the OSIF cut for next year, for 2024. So that would be like nothing going into the capital reserve if we're just replacing the provincial cut. So I would like to see, maybe we could do 200 out of the cap, because they've already moved the money to the capital reserve on that list. So could we maybe do 200,000 out of the friendly amendment, 200 out of the city capital reserve to social services, and then we've still got 932 in city capital?
That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
We can do it. Do we need to do it? I guess that's the question. Do we need to do it?
We need to do it.
Yeah, through your worship. Yeah, based on our giving direction at 7.5% to Hastings County, to have another 200,000 in the reserve would be helpful, and I think that leaves your capital reserve transfer still somewhat healthy.
Okay. So that's that. You're going to do that then? What do we need? We're agreement on that?
If Councillor O'Neill agrees.
I don't see any nods no, so I guess we are in agreement.
I'm in agreement.
Okay. All right. So Councillor Boyce.
Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with the numbers there, and I want to reiterate, too, I mean, we're either in the industrial land business or we're not. And I mean, 2 acres here, 3 acres here, they're not worth much. We need to invest money. Unless we want to come to our residential base and say, every year, you're going to go 7%, we're going to go 7%, which is too high. We're going to have to find other ways of getting tax money. I mean, our industrial land, we need to invest our money, and I think everyone should be in agreement. We need to invest in larger chunks of land, the way they've done it in other municipalities. Otherwise, we're going to bleed our residents dry. And I'm not going to go to the media and say that I'm going to support a 7% tax increase, because I don't accept it, and I can't wait till we get to our capital budget projects.
Okay. Councilor Quinte.
Well, when it comes to our industrial land, I believe we're still waiting to hear in regards to a report coming back on industrial land. And, you know, the check is only for $3 million. So unless somehow they make a mistake, which would be nice if it was 30 million, because then we can do a whole bunch of different things. So we got to start somewhere. So reestablishing the industrial land, because a little bit of history. I mean, we did just set up on the Loyalist Parkway the new commercial property and invested in that, and that took years and years and years to get to that stage. And so now that we have that, you're right, we need to look forward, and I'm going to agree to put the $1 million for industrial land reserve. At least it's a start for this year, and then next year's going to be next year. And so that's just my comments there. So if city staff wanted to report back on when we might hear back on their report on the industrial land, I'm open to listening to that, but I'm going to support putting money to industrial land and this $1 million.
Okay, all right. Councilor Siddall, go ahead.
So if we're not going to move the housing reserve up to $1 million, and we're going to put almost $1 million into the city capital reserve this year, then I'm not supportive of the 2% capital increase this year on top of taxes. I think if we're going to put the money into our capital reserve by using this one-time allocation here, then we need to help out the taxpayers, and we need to cut the amount that's going into the capital, the percentage that we put into our capital reserve. So instead of the 2%, I would support a 1.5% in order to bring that tax rate down.
1.5% into capital reserve. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Do you want to look at all the capital projects first, or I guess that's, anyways, we've got to.
Talking capital levy.
I'm sorry, yeah, okay. Capital
I
levy.
thought we were talking about the
capital
use of the
project,
PILT money.
Two different things, right, sorry. You're right. Okay, so what we've got in front of us right now is a PILT one-time usage. And so I guess the one thing Councilor Stedall would like is that we increase the housing reserve to $1 million.
Isn't that what it says, though?
That's what it is now.
Bring the
with
balance to $1 million.
So, but you're saying you want it higher than the million, or?
My suggestion was, recommendation was, we take the housing reserve and take it from 550 and put $1 million in, but it sounds like I don't have support of that. So what I'm saying, that leave the resolution on the allocations as we have them on the screen right now. It's just that if that much money is going to go to city capital reserve, when we go to the next topic on our budget and start talking about our capital percentage levy, then we reduce the amount from 2%. So I'm fine with what we've got right now, as long as we have a reduction somehow to the ratepayers through the capital levy.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so we're going on to projects then?
Well, if we can get a motion on this, so we've got a list here. I haven't heard a motion on the floor if this is the list that that you want to vote on, or if there's another motion. I think we should make a motion on the PILT.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make I'll make a motion to support, as presented on this particular slide, the PILT one-time usage funds for 2024 in the amount of $3,032,342 as presented.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Counselor Quincy. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Counselor O'Neill.
Shouldn't there be under KGH to fully fund the new request, 30,000 there, and to reduce the city capital reserve by 30,000 too?
So we did,
If you want to make that motion, we've removed it based on previous discussions, so there is no money of none of the PILT money right now going to KGH. So unless somebody wants to add that to the motion.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I can, I
For
think
the
right-
amount of money, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, right now, that additional 10,000, we have an increase to the levy. That was part of the 54,000 when we went through that discussion.
okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Okay, now, do you want to take a look at capital projects? Councilor Elliott.
Yeah, we can either talk about the capital levy first and then the capital projects. It's really up to council if you want to kind of chew off what the capital
All right,
levy
so
will be, and then
capital
we've got
levy,
the
you wanna
proposed levy
review that, make
established.
sure we're all-
Or actually, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Mayor, I also failed to recognize, we also have municipal departments where we have some items around bag tags and sound and salt, so maybe we deal with that one first.
Okay, departments.
So in this revised number, there were the three items. The one that you've dealt with already, which is the PILT funding for the air show. The second item is that staff have included an additional 50 cents on the bag tags, which would increase revenue by about 300,000. And we've also reduced the sand and salt budget by 10%, which is approximately 200,000. So these are three items that we put in there. So they're up for discussion as well as any other items.
Okay, comments? Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first, through you to Director Angelo, reducing the sand and salt budget by 10%. I'm always leery about reducing something to a level that's lower than what we've already had. And I'd like to hear his comments on it, if he feels he's comfortable with that reduction, or he feels a different reduction would be better.
Director Angelo, miraculous, I guess, crystal ball you're looking into?
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councilor O'Neill. I guess my concern is I can't predict the weather just like any one of you can predict the weather. And cutting that sand salt budget by 10% gives me some concerns. We only have $375,000 in our winter stabilization fund, and we've typically, over the last several years, spent that sand and salt budget with the winter storms that we've been having. We're seeing more intense storms in our area than we've previously shown or seen in the past. I think cutting it by 10%, are we looking at, and I guess my question back to you, are we looking at a service level reduction that we talked about on Wednesday, Thursday last week? Or if we're just looking at a 5% reduction, which is about a $100,000 reduction in that budget proposed, I think that's probably a little more manageable from my side going forward.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Any comment on what Director Angelo has stated? I guess that's where I should start. Councilor Gonsalves?
I would just take Director Angelo's opinion and move it to 5% reduction as opposed to 10.
I agree.
Councilor
second
Quincy?
that.
Yeah. Councilor Quincy, sorry. Councilor Quincy, and then I'll go to Councilor Freeman.
I've been on the council for 15 years, and Director Angelo has been right 99.99% of the time, so I will follow his recommendation.
You must have forgot something, did you? Councilor Freeman, you're next.
I was
Councilor
just
Freeman?
wanting to second it, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I think I'm just going by what I've read over the weather conditions, El Nino and all that for this year. It's predicting a lot of wet weather this winter, and that generally means more salting and sanding than normal. So that's, I'd be cautious about cutting that budget. And if we do cut it and we don't provide the service that's required, we're just increasing I guess you'd say the damaged vehicles will incur, and then insurance claims and so on. So, yeah, that's, I'm just leery of cutting anything in that area. So that's my feeling. I think we should stick with what we've budgeted for the salt and sand and stick with that. Can you give me an indication as what has happened to the tonnage prices of salt this year and sand, or can you give it to me now? Or
I can, Your Worship. Salt has typically gone up 5 to 7% per ton every year, and we're projecting that same sort of percentage increase again. Same with sand as well. What I can tell you is, as of, I guess, the end of November of this year, we're under budgeted on sand and salt usage, and that's just because we haven't had a significant amount of events this fall. We've been out a few times doing some sanding and salting. So my plan would be to recharge those domes and fill with sand and salt prior to the end of this year and get them charged up, starting completely full for January, where it's typically end of January, early February, we're recharging those domes depending on the severity over the winter or the Christmas season. So I think we'd be in good shape with a 5% reduction in that sand salt budget.
you think we're okay?
Yes.
Okay, you won't ruin your hairdo or anything because of it? No?
Perhaps when I retire, I'll start growing hair back, but right now, no.
I'd like to move on and make a motion to reduce the budget, change it from a 10% reduction to a 5% reduction, and have a vote, please.
Okay, so we got a seconder for that motion?
Yep.
Is that already on the table?
That motion's
5%?
already on the floor,
Okay,
Mr.
so-
Mayor.
Okay, all right. All in favor? Carried, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Maybe to lead the direction, just the bag tags was the other item that's been worked in here, and then maybe we can also talk about interest revenue as well. I've got some comments there, so maybe if we can start on bag tag revenue.
So I need a motion to increase the bag tags by 50 cents. That's what I need.
Okay, I'll get it on the floor and
Yeah, get it on
hear
the
the
floor.
discussion.
Councilor
I'll make the
Cruz,
motion.
Seconded by? Seconded by? Haven't got a second, you can't get it on the floor.
I hear you.
Can we see that on the screen instead of looking at the municipal departments right now? See what the money is actually, the difference that makes?
It was $300,000, I believe.
I think,
Yeah, 300,000.
I believe there was a question at the last meeting about the true cost of garbage. I think it was Councillor Boyce. Did you ask that question? And so that's how the topic has come up.
yes, it did. And we did talk about it at that time, but this was a motion to increase our revenue. That's what this is.
Correct.
And if you don't agree with it, then that's fine. I have a mover, but I don't have a seconder for it, so it's not on the table. So that's out, that's lost.
Your Worship,
Okay.
I'd like to put a motion on the table to
ahead.
increase it by 25 cents instead of the 50
Increased by
cents.
25 cents. All the paperwork and everything for, okay. All right, seconded by Councillor Card. 25-cent increase to bag tags. Any other comments?
I do.
Yes, go ahead.
How do the costs of bag tags compare to the surrounding area? I think we're lower still, no matter what we do.
Sorry, I know we have a comparison sheet somewhere. I'd have to do a bit of digging here. If you can give me a second.
Last year. I think it's,
So we have Prince Edward County at 325.
That's what we have to do.
We
That's-
have City of Belleville at $3.
I don't think so.
Any other, so 325 is what's on the table. Any other comments? Director Angelo, you did comment last week on the actual cost of a bag tag to us in terms of, I don't know, was it landfill usage amount going there, or how, I don't know how you, what you referenced your comment.
Yes, thank you, Worship. So I believe I mentioned that to cover the true cost of garbage collection and organics collection
Right.
and processing, That total cost about roughly $2 million a year. We're looking at about $3.50 a tag, just on the garbage side. Certainly, if you're just looking at covering off the cost of garbage, pickup and disposal, it's significantly less than that. But with the organics in there, organics cost more money to process than typically to landfill garbage.
Does that help?
Well, it's all got to go to the same place. So, well, I mean, I know it goes in the same truck, but then it goes divided out. It's still a cost to deal with garbage, and always has been, and it's not going to get any better. So, you know, if the cost of the bag tag moves up a little bit to assist with that, then so be it.
Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. Maybe I suggest if we could get a vote on the 25 cents, and then if we get down further to the end of internal departments and we see the levy effects, and perhaps we want to look at 50 cents then, but I feel like 25 is reasonable to start with, and if there's support to change that to 50 later on, then we could take that up also,
Well,
potentially.
we pass a motion now at 325, that's where it's going to be.
Can always come back.
I've got a motion on the table at 325, correct?
Yeah.
So I need to know how many in favor of the 325. 1, 2, 3, 4. Carried, thank you. Okay. Question, Councillor Stedall.
I'd like to put a motion that we add the interest earned on bank accounts, and we increase the revenue by $150,000. Interest rates have gone up, and I'll let the director speak to this, but I do feel that it looks like the interest rates are up, and this is for money, cash that we have in our accounts. We're also getting this additional $3 million that's going to be added into our accounts. So I do feel that it is warranted that we could probably, at the 5% or higher, that we could get on our return on money in the bank, that we can add $150,000 revenue into this line.
Through
So I have the
Your
motion
Worship,
on the floor.
yeah, the new information from the 3 million pelts is the main reason I would agree with Councillor Stedall that we could increase this revenue projection. The money will be in reserves this week, and there is no really project for most of this money to be spent within the year. So we can definitely assume the interest revenue will go up about 150,000 based on that.
Okay, but the other side of this question is, are we borrowing any more money that's going to cost us? In other words, if interest rates are up for borrowing as well as...
We have budgeted amounts for our loan and debentures and the interest we pay on those, so that's already included in the
all
budget.
looked after? Okay, thank you.
I'll second it. I'll second Councillor Stedall's motion.
All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. All right. Councillor Card and Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to make a motion in two parts that we increase marina fees for 10% for 2024. Above, I think maybe in the fee schedule there might have been, I'm not sure if there was a 3% already baked in, but nevertheless 10% higher, which Director Denouden rough estimate that's going to be around 45,000, 50,000 in revenue. I would like to apply 25,000 approximately of that to boost the low-income senior ODSP rebate. That's going to cost about 25,000, so we'll have 25,000 savings off the levy, and then 25,000 will boost the low-income seniors rebate $100 from $600 to $700. So if we do end up passing a 6.5% levy this year or something, that will cover about 70–80% of that increase for your average low-income senior or ODSP recipient. It's a very successful program. Last year we bumped it up bumped it up and was used, I believe, 130,000, 140,000 usage. It's kind of the largest targeted tax relief in the history of Quinte West. Very successful program. A lot of families struggling to get by, and this will provide more relief to our most economically vulnerable and still save 25,000 on the levy too.
Councillor O'Neill.
Question through you to Director Grimmin. For the marina leases and everything else, aren't those already, a lot of the contracts already signed for next year?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor O'Neill, we do currently already have 134 deposits for seasonal slips for 2024.
So could we increase the rate when they've already done the deposits? Is that possible? I like the idea, but I don't know if it's possible.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor O'Neill, certainly a good question. I would have to refer to the contracts that we've provided so far, just regarding the terms and conditions. But certainly, I think that might be difficult for the ones that we've already taken payment from. Certainly, the other ones that we haven't, we could apply an increase to.
If I may, a supplemental, if even half of what were the total slips last year? Is that 100 and the number that you just said? Is that about half? Half of prepaid? Is that fair?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Card, we had 193 seasonal reservations last year, and we're sitting at about 134 prepaid for 2024.
Okay, so
you're well over two-thirds.
Two-thirds. Okay, so then why don't we do to make sure that it's at least paid for and there isn't a reverse levy effect? We'll say $75 on the low income rebate, and at least that'll be, half of the levy increase for those folks, and maybe there isn't a levy effect. It's not that our number isn't going to go down, but it will at least pay for that $75 relief for those families.
We increase the fee and then we give it away.
Yeah, Mr. Card had a lot of different aspects to his comments.
All right, okay.
10% increase, it sounds like it will only be applied to about a third because 2/3 have paid a deposit. So that sounds like it would pay, if it's a third of the 50,000 ballpark, that should pay for about a $70 per household increase. Is that about right for the ODSP rebate?
Yeah, just to help you there, the transient, it would apply to 100% of transient revenue. So about 15,000 there, and you would probably get about 15,000 out of your seasonals. So about 30,000 additional revenue if you increase by 10%. And then on a $75 increase to your rebate, I think that would be closer to about 15,000 additional budget.
Okay, so then, yeah, let's do 75 and we'll put the rest to levy savings, if that's my motion then. Yep. So say 15,000 on the levy and 15,000 to low-income seniors rebate.
Councillor Boyce.
Thank you. Last year I asked about it, and I think the answer was that we couldn't because we were already collecting money. This year we're hearing very same. And what I also asked last year, and I remember it clearly, I wrote it down, was how much can we charge for non-residents increase?
Yeah.
That's what I asked, and because I mean we've got. I think we've got around 100 locals that may be using our as seasonal rates. Then we've got around 95 from Toronto, GTA, and all over that know that their marinas are charging probably what they should be charging, and because they're private, which they should be, and they're coming down here, they're loading up their car, they're coming down here, they're loading it onto their boat, they're doing the free laundry, and then they're taking off to the Thousand Islands, and the taxpayers here are getting stuck with the bill, and yeah, but the thing is, I don't. At the very least, like I mean, am having a difficult time swallowing that we're even doing the marina, and I'm sure we're going to have discussions about it. But I mean, I was looking at a minimum of 25% increase to truly offset it. We're only helping probably 100 locals, 100 local families with boats that are living for a couple $1,000s for 4 months, getting free laundry service, and living on the waterfront. It's beyond me why it's still in the marina business, to be honest. But that's my figure. So 10%. I'm not even going to look at 10% rate increase.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I would suggest that, like the bag tags, this is not a period at the end of the sentence. We can certainly open this up again at other parts of the debate. If we're talking about the break wall, this is just one motion. Can certainly more can be tacked on later if council has appetite. So I think if you want marina fees to go up, vote for the motion.
Councilor Armstrong.
I agree with Councillor Boyce about bringing this up last year. I was going to ask the question, can they not wait to set the price till we've done our budget? Because then we wouldn't have this problem. That's my understanding. Like, when do you set the rates for the next year? Why can't we wait so we don't have this problem of 100 people have already prepaid?
Okay.
Or put something in the contract that says that there's a potential increase or decrease even, who knows?
Okay.
And maybe look at laundromats coin operated instead of free.
All kinds of little questions there, Director. Your boat sinking? I guess you call it a boat, I think so.
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Armstrong. Certainly we follow the update to the fees and charges bylaw. The marina fees did come last year and were approved for last year and this year. So we are happy to look at those at council's discretion and decision at any time.
Councillor Stedall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess my concern is that if we've already got 3/4 of people that have already signed contracts, and the rest of them should get the same rate. So just because we've switched something in the middle of the contract, people that are sitting in one slip beside another slip shouldn't say, okay, I've got a different rate because the council changed things in the middle of the year. So I would think we would. I agree we need to increase the rates. I would support the 25% for next year. For not this coming summer, but for the 2025 year. We do it in advance now so that staff has direction. And the other part of Councillor Card's motion with regards to the ODSP, the assistance with the taxes, I would like to pull that out and talk about that separately. I don't want to tie one to the other. I think we need to just talk about, if we talk about slip rentals, we talk about increasing them, but for 2025, not for 2024.
Sure, I will amend the motion for a $15,000 cost for a $75 increase to the rebate from $600 to $675.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Sorry, just so I'm clear, are you removing that provision from the motion?
I'm removing the marina fee increase. We can continue to have that debate with the break wall. I know councillors are leaving soon. In the interest of time, we'll leave the marina fee to the break wall or a later motion.
So we're just talking about the ODSP
sure.
rebate?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the interest of time.
And I'll second it.
Okay. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Keep going. Who's on next? Councillor Elliott?
Yes, in regards to our capital expenditures, I still think the 7% plus is still too high. One part here of the capital budget appendices under Public Works is the link, the trail link between Bain Park and Centennial Park, and I've been asking staff some questions on it. It's budgeted for $3.7 million, and it's funded by grants, capital levy, and DCs. I think I asked Mr. Angelo the other day, and the grant we got has to be used before 26, I believe, Councillor. The other problem I have with this, all the property owners along there on that waterfront we have not dealt with. So there's a question mark whether you're even going to have access across there. There's got to be negotiations made. And so my suggestion is, and I leave it up for council's debate, but my suggestion is to defer this for another year. I see probably 1 or maybe even 2% that can be saved this year on that capital, in that capital levy off of our percentage that we're looking at. But that's only a suggestion. It's a major project. I'm not against trails or anything, but I think a bit of this, the cart was put before the horse. We don't even have the land. There's at least 5 landowners along there that I know of that is involved in this, and I think you have to negotiate. Even if you got part of them and you had ones that said absolutely no, other than expropriation, you got a dead end. So I think there needs to be a little bit of more homework done on this, and I would ask that that be reduced, and if it can reduce our percentage rate, I'm proposing that. The other question I wanted to bring forward, the other day we had a bit of a, I guess a debate, I guess in a sense, about the coverings over the entranceways at the food bank, and I guess at Quinte Transit there. I hadn't had a chance to go up and look at the buildings, but a lot of steel housing that I see done all have ice and snow dams. Was there none put on this building? I just wondered if that was, if for some reason that wasn't done, and so it just slides right off. But
Hello, Director Grimman, can you answer that, or?
Through Mr. Mayor to Councillor Elliott. Yes, we did look at that when we changed the membrane on the roof. It no longer allows us to put the ice stops on it, and that's why we would have to look at a canopy structure instead.
okay, thank you.
Councillor Armstrong?
I was just there this morning taking pictures and also talking to Craig Olivier about the situation. He has video of all of that, and it's the double garage door. That's the one where they are, and also Quinte Access has a double, and it's major slides that come off with 2-inch pieces of ice. And at the front of the building last year, it took out the gas meters and stuff like that, and air conditioning units were hit. So it's something that should be looked at.
It's all steel roof?
Yeah, and it's
got
the pitch is going from east to west. Is that right? And it's a very slight pitch. I couldn't even see it, but it's there, and it's enough to cause also snow loads are at the entrances. They have to dig that all out, but I'm not an engineer. Maybe I'll get a former councillor who knows more about that.
Do you ever wished we had torn that building down besides me? Anyways, I just want to get an answer from Director Angelo. Does that have a steel roof on it? And did we, because at one time we talked about changing that roof, but we may have done it.
Your Worship, and perhaps Director Grimman can add to this, but no, it does not have a steel roof. It's a membrane system that was put on there. At one time it was a steel roof, but when that building was refurbished, a membrane system was put on instead. And that's, as she said earlier, you can't put snow and ice guard on that membrane system, unfortunately.
No. Right. Well, you can, but it won't do you any good. Okay, who's next? Pardon? Councillor Reid?
Oh, thank you. No, excuse me, Director Angelo answered my question, because in Frankfurt, that's what we have. We have ice guards on a steel roof with a sign that says caution, ice falling. So, but if it's a membrane roof, that obviously isn't going to work. So thank you for clarifying that. But I have a couple of other things too that I think that should be looked at seriously and possibly cut. Number one being the Carrying Place Industrial Park entrance sign. I don't think that that's necessary now. I think that we need to lower this tax levy, and we need to do it in whatever possible places we can. The City Hall first floor meeting spaces and accessibility, that should sit as it is. I don't think we need to put any money into anything until we have extra money to do it. Right now, it can be utilized for office space if it's needed, but I don't want to see anything put into that. The other thing is the sound system at the Duncan McDonald Arena. I believe that that's something that can wait on hold as well. Those are just a few small things that I thought we needed to look at and to take out of there. Thank you.
We're going item by item, are we not, Your Worship? Like we talked about before, let's go item, instead of patchwork, let's go item by item.
Your Worship, Can I ask for a point of order on this?
yeah.
I believe we're still dealing with the operating budget, and I believe we need to finish with this one before we start talking about capital. I have one more recommendation on the operation budget, and that is the 3 new positions that are in the budget, the 3 new positions that for staffing positions that have been requested, and I believe they're about $240,000. And my recommendation is that they be taken out in 2024 because we have other pressures this year, and that would help reduce just our operating. And I'd like to put the motion on the floor is that we cut the 3 positions for a total of $240,000.
Okay, motion on the floor. I need a seconder, I
Second
guess.
it.
Councilor
I'll
Reed,
second it.
Okay, all right. Now, I'm going to ask CAO Clazy to comment on that one, please.
Just to clarify the positions, if that's what we're looking for, is there's an EA for parks, the fire prevention officer, and the asset management position. Those are the 3 positions we're talking about taking out of the budget this year for 2024. Not that they wouldn't be re-looked at in 2025, but for this year that they not be added to our budget.
Okay. You got the 3 positions, and
Sorry, 3 or 4?
well,
I have $240,000. I had 3 positions, but it could be, I'm looking at the $240,000 number.
If I can, Mr. Mayor, a couple comments. I guess first of all, and maybe Mr. Denouden can confirm for me, but I think when I look at, there's four new positions that have been identified for this year: Community Services EA, Asset Management Manager, a Development Inspector, and a Fire Training Officer, I believe, are the 4 positions. And when I look at the budget, I think that's more like about 190,000, not 240. Partially because in our fire budget, we did include some, we reduced some of our training costs that we would have to put back in because we do some external training, so we had made an allowance for that. I guess my other concern is, we took a look at this at our senior management group, and we identified these 4 positions as positions that I think are positions that we really need to help us move forward with some of the workload challenges that we're having. And I guess when I look at the city, we have, I think it's about 230 full-time employees. So if we look at this in relation to that, we're really only adding less than 2% to our full-time workforce, more like about 1.5%, which is pretty much in line with the amount that the city's growing every year. And my concern is if we're not adding 3 or 4 new positions every year to this organization, then we're falling behind to be able to just keep up with the workload that we currently have, which I would say we are struggling to keep up as it is. So every year we're growing, and if we're not continuing to add some staff every year, and I think we looked at this just to try and keep it in line with what our growth was, that's certainly gonna hamper us not only in '24, but moving forward.
okay, Chief Whalen, there's a training officer in there. Would you make any comment with respect to that position?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to council. Yeah, and we're mandated, I'm sure council know, for certain courses to be certified and to give us a ranking that we're a first-class fire service. So that's a challenge right now. And as well, when I talked to CEO Clazy about the position, that position could help us with emergency management, which is becoming a lot of work for the people we have.
Okay, thank you. Councilor O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Further to CAO Clazy's comments and the fire chief's comments, I can't support reducing the employee staffing.
Thank you. Councilor Armstrong?
I'd like to make a request that we're ending at noon, correct? That was the idea here.
That's the Correct. Idea.
And I think that this topic in itself is something that we shouldn't be going through in about a minute. I think it's a very serious discussion, as a training officer, all these different things. So I would suggest that we save these for the start of the next
We
meeting.
haven't even got the operating budget finished.
I know, but we've got 5 minutes till noon. I don't know. This,
This will finish it, okay. All right. This will finish it.
And
I just-
I could make amendments, I mean, if we do 190,000 instead of the 240, but I still am feeling strongly is that I know there's growth, but that I don't believe the positions are warranted this year when we've got other avenues. We have other things we need to think about this year besides new staff.
Councillor Coetzee?
Mr. Mayor, this is just another form of provincial downloading with the asset management plan, the fire regulations, and CAO Clazy is correct. And we all see it when we have our committee meetings and read our minutes and have our council meetings. Hear comments from members of the community when they're reaching out to City Hall for help and service. We need these staff to just keep up with the demand, and our city's going to grow more. Like, it's not like we're not going to have another, people moving into this community and they're going to be expecting service, even though the housing and the building rates maybe slightly, the number of homes is slightly lower. I believe the revenue from the building is good and very positive. And those homes are going to be completed. Those apartments are going to be started and at one point going to be completed. And that's just going to bring more people to the city. And if we have more people, we're going to need to look after them. So Mr. Clazy is correct that if we don't invest in our staff and have them here and trained and ready to go, that's just going to cause even more problems. So I can't support cutting staff. I'm going to agree with Councillor O'Neill that I won't be supporting to cut a staff.
Councillor Boyce?
Thank you. If I was on the outside, I would say, oh yeah, it sounds like they're not hiring any staff. So I'd like the numbers. Since 2022, how many new staff have been approved?
New staff or additional staff?
Additional staff have been put on.
Additional staff.
Yep. How many
Okay.
additional staff have been put on? Because the way if I was new and I didn't know, I'd think, oh, only a couple of staff a year. That's not bad. But I mean, how many has it been since 2022? Since the reviews and things.
CA Clazy, can you answer that? I can't. But the staffing allotment was approved a long time ago. But
No, but I'm just asking because the way that it sounds is it sounds like we're hardly hiring any new staff, and I would just like the public to be aware of how many staff since 2022 have been hired.
okay, I don't know.
Well, but we do have the answer.
Well, we should have. Somebody should have it. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure I have the answer right in front of me. I'm going to say I think we approved probably maybe 5 positions for 23 and probably a similar, maybe a couple more than that in 22. Previous to that, we did have some additional hires when we went through an organizational review back in 20 and 21.
Okay, 2021. I thought it was 2022, but okay, 2021. Approximately how many?
Do you want to? Can anybody else add to it, Laurie? Or
I think.
go ahead.
21.
Through the mayor to council, I do recall the number was 21 out of the reorg. That was in 2021.
Thank you. So probably in the last 4 years, maybe 28. So not 1 or 2 or even 3 or 4. There's been a number of hiring, and I think council's been very cognizant of the idea that the city's growing, and they've done so. What I think it's a high number, but I mean council's approved it, so it's not 3 or 4 a year.
But Mr. Mayor.
I'll come back to you. Councillor Card and then Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think at least as it was kind of explained to me as a new councillor, I think similar to the capital levy, how that didn't exist before the last couple of years of the previous term, was that was identified as an area of underinvestment, the same as kind of the capital, and that there was based on the consultant's report, kind of a fill-in to catch up with some of those previous years, and in a similar manner to the capital levy combined with the OSIF cuts and some of the asset management information that was unveiled, that there was kind of an underinvestment in that area. It was how I understood the situation.
Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm going to support Councillor Shelley Stedall recommendation. I think you said 50% of new staff funding. Is that your motion?
The number was 190,000.
Okay. But what I'd like to see, given that there were four new staff, is a report to help prioritize what those two could be in 2024. I also know that over the last few years, we have worked very hard to get the staffing levels where they should be. And I know it's a growing community, and we need to add annually. So I accept that, but I don't know if it has to be 4 or if there's some portion thereof. But I'd like a report from Mr. Clazy to help identify the priority of those 4. I look at the development inspection, and you know, I may think that's number 1 from where I sit. Others will think the fire. They're all valuable. They all make a difference in our community, but we all have to look at what we can do. So that's what I would like to see. But to Councillor Boyce's point, we have not ignored staffing levels. We are trying. Do we need more? I guess we always will and always do. But how far we go this year, I can't support all.
Can we defer this till the next time we get together? Because I have to leave.
Can I get one more comment before I take your deferral? Well, I haven't got. Councillor Card had a question.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to ask what 2 of the 4, giving you discretion on hiring the 2 of the 4, what the levy saving would be on that. Is that 190, and then maybe we speak more and vote on that, and we're be done operating?
Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Card, that's very difficult to answer, because depending on which positions we looked at cutting would be a significant different amount that we'd be removing from the levy. As I mentioned earlier, as an example, the fire training officer, the net impact on the levy is not that significant, because we have reduced some of our training budget knowing that was coming in-house. So again, it would depend on the position. I just wanted to make a comment about the comment about 3 or 4 years ago that we did increase our staffing levels, and Councillor Boyce is correct, we did. But I think it's important to note that at that time, we had a consultant come in and look at our municipality compared to a number of other municipalities with similar services and similar size. And that report did identify a significant understaffing in the city of Quinte West. And council at that time, and I'm very thankful for council at that time, gave us a number of new positions to help increase that staffing up from the level it was at, still under where we would be in average with our comparators. And I think all we've been trying to do since then is try and maintain that service level that we have right now, and that's, again, where these 4 positions were coming from.
Okay. Can we deal with this motion before we quit? I guess that's my point.
No, because I don't think we don't have all the information.
Okay, you want more information?
Well, CAO Clazy just pointed out that because if one of those positions is the fire training officer, that's got different aspects to it.
So you want to defer?
Yes.
I have a motion to defer. Seconder? We don't need one, but we'll take one. Councillor Allier. All in favor of deferral? I guess you don't have any option, no discussion. All in favor? That's what I need to know. All in favor? Deferral. Yes.
So now can we recess to, say, Wednesday after council meeting?
Didn't have enough to.
Okay, so we deferred that part of our responsibility. So that's deferred. Staffing is deferred, so you will have to bring back a report on that. And when are we going to start again for our next, finish the deliberation? I guess that's my question.
Can we recess until 2 o'clock on Wednesday? So start the meeting before council meeting on Wednesday at 2?
I'm not certain I'm going to be able to do that.
2 o'clock on Wednesday?
That's
That work?
that might not work for me.
So for majority, I guess that's I've got to look for, I guess. Got to hope it does.
Well, there's Hastings County meetings Wednesday too.
We got meetings all morning too.
Well, that's good. You'll be all.
No, but I don't think we'll be back in time.
You'll be all fired up.
I can do after the council meeting on Wednesday. I can't do before.
Okay. So I'll leave it up to you, Mr. Clazy, to figure out a time and let everybody know before.
I'd kind of like some direction, Mr. Mayor, from council, because I think it's when does council think that they are willing to be able to get back together as a group?
Fine, whatever.
We do
works out.
Wednesday after council? Make a motion that we recess until Wednesday after council?
Recess until Wednesday after council.
Wednesday after council.
Recess until Wednesday after, that's the motion.
Can we just,
Pardon?
I'm not in favor for what Councilor Boyce said. It's not fair to staff, and at this rate, we're going to be 10 o'clock at night after council, so it's not a clear.
Thursday.
Anyway, after council, it's not clear it's going to be 6 till 8 or anything like that. It could go on forever, so let's do it in the daytime, so at least we respect staff's time and any public members that want to attend. And if the majority of us can attend, I even thought today was supposed to be till 4 o'clock. I'm surprised that it's ended at 12. We scheduled 9 till 4.
Well,
And Councillor Armstrong just mentioned Thursday. I have a meeting at 1 o'clock, Lower Trent, and it'll probably run till 4. And then at 5, I got Committee of Adjustment in here, so. And we got 8 applications, so it won't be a short meeting either, so.
We canceled our Christmas.
Recreation?
No, we canceled our Christmas council meeting, so we could possibly do it then unless that's too late. Remember
Christmas Day, you're thinking?
No, 27th.
Okay.
What about Friday at 9?
I'm not available.
I'm not available.
Excuse me,
there's Linda.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Councilor
Because
Reid.
it's such a busy time and everybody has so much on their plate, what is the problem with holding it over until January? And that way
None.
we've got clear thoughts.
Well, we can
and
hold it
take
off
our-
till July if you want, but the problem is, we don't get any tenders out. And the longer we are getting tenders out, the fewer responses we get and the more it costs us. So,
The first week of January is not going to make that big a difference.
I know you've told us that. All right.
Clarification, weren't we scheduled till 4 today? They brought lunch, are we not?
Yeah, there's lunch here. Yeah, okay, well, you
We should
can.
to accommodate a couple people.
How many
but
have to leave now? That's the point. There's three have to leave now.
I do.
We still have a quorum.
For
Councilor Reid has to leave. I have to leave at 1.
Apologies, I'm having to leave right now. So.
But it's not
And
fair
I have to
not to
leave.
have everybody here. That's not, so. Okay, well, we'll have to figure out what works, I guess, or. Anyways, I'm gonna say we take a recess and.
Mr. Mayor, just before everybody leaves, so
Okay,
just
hold
speaking
on.
to Director Denowden, what if we reconvene maybe the week of January the 8th? Because I think to the point, trying to schedule a time over the next week or two, we have a number of staff and senior staff who have vacation already booked. I think we have a number of council members that have a lot of other commitments at this time of year. While we'd like to get this done up sooner than later, I think in reality to try and get together, and we could book a whole day at that time, give everybody lots of notice, and try and get through the rest of this at that time.
So recess until January.
So I would suggest, I think, based on the discussion from the clerk, that we should probably close this meeting off and we would produce a new agenda that would give us opportunity to give a report with everything that's kind of been discussed here as well for a fresh starting point.
Okay, 2 for confirmation and 2 for adjournment. That's what I need. 2 for adjournment, 2 for confirmation. You've got lots of hands. All in favor? Thank you.